second lesson today on Mikhail Tal. No, I didn't think I pronounced that correctly. It was perfect.
Yes, if Latvian audience is here, please let us know. But to me, that sounds very good.
Thank
Yeah.
you. So the first lesson was really exciting. So I've been looking forward ever since that lesson for part 2. And if I remember correctly, we would look a little bit more at positional sacrifices today. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. That's right. You know, we can make 5-6 lessons only about Tal, but my hope is to at least show you at least three more games today, maybe 4, and more like positional sacrifices, long-term sacrifices. And maybe we can have some conclusions in the end, you know? Like we can maybe summarize our basic lessons in the end and what you took from Mikhail Tal and so on.
Yes.
Let's make it more like instructive in that sense, yeah? Because we're also doing it for you, for your audience, for us to get some lessons. Maybe we can apply some of those lessons, yeah? We can try to also spend some time in the end what we learned in those 2 sessions. I have all these games with me, so we can go back also from the first session. We can look at some interesting moments.
Yeah, I'm really excited, like getting to know Tal, and also hi
Yeah,
to everyone in chat. It's nice to see you. So I hope you're excited to analyze some Tal as well. And as usual, if John is asking us questions about the position, feel free to
yeah,
answer in chat. Or if you have any
for sure.
questions, you can also post them, and we'll have a look.
Yeah. And please stop me at any moment, so why, as you always do. You're always welcome. There are no stupid questions. All
Yes.
questions are welcome, right? We are
Yes.
doing it for learning, just to get better, just to discuss ideas. If I can't solve, I mean, if I can't answer them myself, I can also, be humble. Maybe we can look at it together.
Yeah.
So let's do it that way. Let's keep it as interactive as possible. Before we start, I will also give you a couple of more Tal quotes that I forgot last time.
Yes.
Yeah, so he said, by the way, he's probably the best books was written by Tal because he's an amazing author himself. He's an amazing author. He was also like the journalist himself. He was the chief of editor of the Latvian chess and so on in the USSR. Yeah, so he was very much also well booked when it comes to writing and so on. That's why he's a great author. The book that I showed you last time, Tal Botvinnik, is a classic. Yeah, that's 1960, their World
Yes.
Championship match. But there's also another book that he wrote. It's called My Life and Games, and also so many stories in that book, personal stories. You know, I will also tell you that hippopotamus story today. That quote that
Yes.
Tal was thinking about how to get a hippo from a dump, you know, from a drain, like how to get it out of the marsh, to drag a hippo from a marsh. Suddenly he thought about this like an engineering problem. He couldn't figure out, and then he let the hippo die in the marsh. He forgot about the hippo, and in that moment he found a solution to the calculation problem. And then he was right. He sacrificed the knight, and then he won the game. Next day, newspapers write Tal, after 40 minutes of pondering and deep calculation, found this amazing sacrifice. Meanwhile, he was thinking about how to get a hippo drowning away from the marsh, like by helicopters, by ropes. He was an engineer himself, by the way, as well. So he couldn't figure out, and he was writing things like this in his book. Amazingly personal and beautiful.
That sounds so fun. So is he like more of a visual thinker, like creating these stories on the board and
Mention this, the cognitive science aspect of things, let's say. But he says he could not even understand how he started thinking about hippo at that moment, but he didn't like tie it to how to solve the problem. It was sort of unrelated. Suddenly, just all of his energy went to this hippo problem because the problem on the chessboard was too complex. He started calculating some lines. It gets messy. There are 3 of variations. What if he does that, does this? He couldn't figure out. It was too complex for a human to solve. And then he starts thinking about the hippo for like half an hour, and then he gives up because that's also a difficult problem. Right at the moment, he decides to sacrifice a knight. Kind of intuitively, as we will see today, intuitive knight sacrifices, long-term sacrifices, which worked in the actual game, So then he talks about that. But talking back to your ideas, like your course as well, he said this. When people ask him what he's thinking about after the opponent makes a move, he says, first, I think about how to sack my queen, and then the rook, and then the bishop, then the knight, and then the pawn. Okay, maybe he was trolling, okay? Maybe he was just trolling, but that's what he said once to a journalist. Okay, that's number one. Then one person asked him who his chess hero was. His chess hero. And Mikhail Tal says, the man who has proved that he can reach the top and remain human. He said, that person is my chess hero. He didn't
Yeah.
give any names, right? The man who has proved that he can reach the top and remain human. That's also interesting. Was he
Yeah.
talking about himself? Was he talking about other world champions? I don't know, right?
Yeah, and also, is it what is he exactly talking about when he says human? Is it like
Yeah,
is it humility, or is it more like not turning into a computer, or
that's interesting.
what
What
is
did
he
he
like?
mean by
Yeah.
human? He also kind of left it vague, you know, I think. I think he intentionally left it vague.
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, I guess remaining human. What does he mean by remaining human? How does a person remain human,
I'm
right?
thinking I immediately thought humility maybe, but
Hmm.
I'm not sure.
Being still humble, right? Being
Yeah.
still open for learning and so on. I guess that's what he meant. That
Yeah.
he's not thinking that he's like the best ever or like becomes cocky, you know. He was also like, you know, this comment about winning the Bliss World Championship in 1988. You know, he says, "Oh, next year I look forward to becoming the ex World Champion again." You know, he was like six, right? Like his sense of humor was also nice. He was also about himself. He was humble. You know, he was not saying that he was the best ever, like that kind of egoistic mentality. You know, he was like very down to earth kind of a person, I think, as well, deep inside. Maybe that's
Yeah.
also fun part of being human. You know, remaining human.
Yeah.
Um, then one time he asked him, let me see, yeah. Yes. Once he said, first he was stressed out about uncertainties, about sacrifice, about complexities. Then he says, later, I began to succeed in decisive games. Perhaps because I realized a very simple truth. Not only was I worried, but also my opponent.
Yes. I
Right?
actually heard that quote.
Yeah.
That's a really nice one.
That's a cool one, right? About
Yeah.
chess psychology as well. Like about brave chess, about maybe taking some risks,
Yeah.
daring more on a chessboard. Right?
Yeah,
He also
yeah,
discussed that attacking
absolutely.
was easier than defending, perhaps, in chess. That's
Mhm.
one side of things, right? Keep that in
Absolutely.
mind. Yeah,
Yeah, it's a really good one because it's very easy to get caught up in your own emotions and forget that you're playing against another human as well.
absolutely. So we also like even the first lesson, right? We saw that human element. Like he was sacrificing objectively incorrect sacrifices, but it takes a human to disprove it, and it was so difficult for a human, yeah, to find those three only moves of
Yeah.
like a single branch to be able to survive. And he was really sensing those moments and he was going for that. Many people would shy away from those sacrifices, but Tal was always, almost always going for those, yeah, trusting his intuition and skill.
Yeah.
Um,
Um,
then
I'm
finally,
excited. Oh, yeah, you
yeah,
have one
final
more?
quote. When I asked Fischer why he had not played a certain move in our game, he replied, "Well, you laughed when I write it down." Right? Fischer wrote the move before playing, and Tal laughed at the move, and Fischer decided not to play that move, which is a strong move, objectively, right? Tal also had this psychological element, as I told you last time, right? This hypnotic gaze sometimes that was
Yeah.
affecting people.
Yeah,
So he had a great score against Fischer,
that's
by the way.
that's
Yes,
kind of impressive that you managed to psych out Fisher.
he beat Fischer four times, I guess, but Fischer was already like 16 or 17. So he
Yeah.
beat him a lot when he was quite young. And Fischer was intimidated by Tal, right? At the
Mm.
age of 16. I mean, you're playing against Mikhail Tal, the world champion. And he's looking at your move and he's laughing at you. And then he just changes.
Yeah.
One time, there's a video on this on YouTube. It's funny. Fischer plays e4. Tal touches the c pawn. He first drags it to c6, almost like he's playing the Caro-Kann, laughs at Fischer. Fischer smiles, and then he pushes to c5, and then just laughs again. Right? Is it like he was feigning a c6 move, Caro-Kann, but then plays Sicilian and just beats Fischer after that? Yeah, he was trolling Fischer at that time, actually.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's funny.
Um, cool. Let's start with the first game then. Fireworks will happen in this one. Mikhail Tal versus Bent Larsen. Bent Larsen is a Danish hero. Maybe you know him. He's the best ever Danish player. Yeah.
Yes.
He was very close to championship and so on in the 60s and 70s. He was probably one of the best non-Soviet player at that time, together with Fischer, of course. Yeah. So it was quite strong player. And this was played in the candidate semifinal in '65. So Tal is still in his prime. 5 years after he became a champion, he's not a world champion right now, but he's quite young and strong. And we'll see one of his long-term sacrifices with this one. Yeah, typically Sicilian, of course. We looked at Sicilian in the first session as well. He always goes for the open Sicilian with d4, of course. And against d6, I mean, black can play d6, e6. There are many variations, of course. Tal plays very principled chess, just development, yeah. Bishop e3, very like rapid development of his pieces. And then he plays f4. Does it sound familiar to you?
Yeah, I was waiting if f4 would come in this game as
It
well.
was coming. It was coming. You see, there's an underlying theme in two lessons right now. So he definitely loves those structures, these two pawns, controlling the central squares. Keeps it open. Sometimes queen can go to f3 and then castle long. Yeah, it's a useful move for white. Sometimes you can even move the bishop and then castle short. That's also safe for your king. Yeah, it's a very flexible move. Like white can play both ways in this case.
Yeah.
And it supports sometimes e5, sometimes f5, right? Just introduces a couple of dangerous ideas for black to handle at some point.
Yeah.
Bishop e7, queen f3. Now he signals for this, yeah? Kind of a signal for castling long, obviously. Queen f3. Also notice that if you play queen f3 here, then you're getting in the way of the f pawn.
Yeah.
So that's why you first push f4 and then queen f3. Much more harmonious.
Yeah.
Castle short, castle long, right? We discussed pawn storms, kings on
Yes.
opposite flanks, Sicilian, right? That's why Sicilian is one of the sharpest openings out there. It's quite sharp, imbalanced, and fireworks will happen. Queen c7, very typical in those formations. They avoid the alignment, and they also put pressure later on, maybe on the c file. The queen also fights against e5, actually. That's a multi-purpose move. Queen c7. Yeah, very typical. Fight against e5 ideas. Knight b5, Tal hits the queen. The queen drops back to b8. It looks passive, but the queen needs to defend the pawn on d6, as you see, right? But also that knight will be chased away with a6. So black loses time, but black will gain some time later on. That's the point. And then already here, maybe I can ask you a question like, okay, form a plan. White to play, what would you play in this position? What will be your goal?
Finish development.
Finish development? You mean like some normal moves like bishop b3 and maybe rook e1 or something?
Yeah.
Something like that you're thinking about. Okay.
Or
What if I told
pawn
you?
storm.
Yeah, there's also pawn storm, right? It's all about the kings on opposite flanks. In those moments, timing is everything. It's pawn storms on different flanks. That's usually the game of the name of the day. Yeah, usually that's the strongest plan in those positions. So, what pawn move looks attractive for white on the king side?
On the king side?
Yes.
I like h4. I like
h4 is not
g4.
bad. Yes, g4 was played by Mikhail Tal. h4 was not bad, but if you play h4, maybe black can even play moves like h5. Okay, maybe to have a clamp on g4. Now it's much more difficult to play g4. You see?
Yeah.
So it's you sort of lost some flexibility by playing h4. That's why it goes g4, because it introduces those ideas at some point. Maybe g5, maybe h4 later on, maybe chase away that knight that is fighting for the center, right? We have all these ideas. So this was played in the actual game. a6, knight d4. No more sacrifice yet. Not a direct sacrifice of the knight. The knight just returns to d4. Yeah, puts pressure here. Takes. And then Larsen plays b5. Of course, they also have to play on the queen side. Very typical, yeah? Pawn storm on different flanks. They will push b4, potentially bishop b7. Very typical Sicilian motif.
Yeah.
And the bishop will be active, and so on and so on. It's already here visible. Yeah, it's a very sharp position. Timing is very important. So
g5.
Yes, Tal plays g5. It's important to chase away that knight which is fighting for those central squares. Yeah, it's almost always a very useful move. Plus, you can even later on play h4, h5, and maybe g6 and so on. Yeah, that also supports that plan.
Yeah.
The bishop is also blunted, but even the bishop is happier after this transformation, right? The bishop gains more scope on this diagonal, so that clearly helped us.
Yes.
Here he goes. Your move was bishop d3 early on. Now he plays your move at this moment, right? Because the bishop is already a stronger piece because that knight disappeared from f6.
Yes.
That's clear. Maybe sometimes we'll play e5 down the line. And then we come to a critical moment. Larsen plays b4. And what do you think Mikhail Tal play in this position?
He does not drop the knight back because we discussed the last time Tal never retreats his knights.
Tal's knights never go backward. Yes.
So
that's also a question if you're all
maybe just like knight d5 And
Oh my
then
God, we play like Mikhail. That's insane. Okay. Why knight d5?
okay, knight d5, and then because you said this was all about positional sacrifices, right?
Yes.
So you open
Yes.
the e file.
Exactly. Just look at this transformation. He's just simply placing the knight on d5 and says, please come take me. And please take a step back right now and understand why he sacrificed the knight.
Look at those bishops.
Aha. Slicing bishops, yeah? They look beautiful. That's the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
What else are you seeing? Tell me all the good things behind this sacrifice.
I love the bishops. Center actually looks a bit close down with that pawn.
Yeah.
E file is open.
Thank you for mentioning the e-file, right? We get
Yes.
this e-file. Yes.
And pawns are also very advanced and ready to attack. Queen can swing on the diagonal. There's like
Yes.
a lot of attacking ideas here, I feel like.
Yes. Already here, there's a huge threat of queen e4 double attack. You can see it. Yeah. More like tactical side. E-file is ours. But you see, it's not like white to play and checkmate in 5. He sacrificed the knight. These are called Sicilian knight d5 sacrifices. It's actually a team, more advanced chess pattern. This repeats itself in different Sicilian structures. And it's totally about long-term advantages, dynamic play, and compensation for the piece. As you mentioned, bishops are amazing. And even this g5 pawn is taken away this beautiful square from their pieces. And also, you look at the black pieces on the queen side, right? As we say, this pawn is sort of dividing the board into halves, as we say, yeah? So white is huge advantage on this side of the board right now. But if you look at the black pieces on the queen side, for example, the queen cannot really easily join the defense, right? It's like there's a barrier going on here. Can you see it?
Yes. Yeah, that was kind of what I meant with the d pawn.
Yes.
It's kind of locking things down a bit, so it's hard
Yes.
for. But
exactly. That's the final point. Kasparov calls this dividing the board into two halves. Kasparov also sacrificed very similarly in his life. So since the queen cannot really join the defense that easily, it's sort of they're playing without the queen. And so your local superiority on the king side is increasing in this line.
Yes.
It's funny, yeah? The machine gives knight e2 as the best, objectively, yeah?
Yeah.
But tell knight don't go backward. Even knight e4 was given as a better move than knight e5 by the engine. But look how Tal plays. Funnily enough, after takes, very small advantage to black. Maybe 0.2 advantage to black if they play the best moves, right?
Yeah.
So first I will show you how the game went, and then I will come back to this position, and we can discuss how black could have defended here.
Yep.
Yeah, that could take a maybe engine defense, but we'll come back to it. Okay. So in the actual game, Larsen plays the move f5, the second best move according to the engine. Engine says they should have played the move g6. We'll come back to this moment. They go f5. They go f5. The idea is, of course, is to blunt the bishop a little bit on this diagonal. And if you take on f6 en passant, then of course they will take back with the maybe knight, with the bishop, and they want to get a piece on f6 again, yeah, to blunt the bishop, let's say. Even here after rook g1, apparently white is slightly better. Interesting. But Tal doesn't take en passant because that's a huge pawn to be kept, yeah, because of these ideas.
Yes.
He goes very simple move. He plays simple chess, rook e1.
Yeah.
He plays rook e1. He plays this rook to e1 because maybe this rook will have other function later on, yeah, maybe h4, h5, g6 or whatever, or some other ways. Rook to e1. And again, the only way for black to claim a small advantage was to play the move bishop d8, engine defense, but they didn't play the move. They played the move rook f7 instead, actually. Already here you can see it, right? One of the best players in the world at that time, he's already not finding the best defense, this accurate defense after this knight sacrifice. For example, bishop d8, again, like with best play, black is surviving, but already the lines are very complex. Very complex to understand. Yeah? I will actually come back to it because, again, there are moves like queen h5 in this case, potentially eyeing some ideas like bishop takes g7. Yeah? Can you see the bishop g7 point? Now, if you take the bishop, for example, then these ideas are kicking in, followed by g6. You must have seen this. You're opening up lines on the king side, opening up the g file, and your king cannot survive on the king side. This is already game over.
Yeah.
The funny thing is this, if you take the bishop with a check, should we recapture the knight or should we play the move king b1 here?
King b1.
Yes. What's wrong with c takes d3?
You open yourself up for checks.
Yes. With check, specifically?
Queen c7. That also covers the 7th rank.
Exactly. And the queen returns back to defense, and black is winning. Isn't
Yeah.
it funny?
Yeah.
Black is two extra bishops, black is winning. It's all about the queen could return back to defense. That's the main theme in this game, actually. Yeah. But if you play king b1, then white is winning in this case completely, because there's no defense against all these ideas. Rook g1 is also coming on the next turn. For example, queen c7. You can even take on h7 here, because if the queen takes, then rook g1 is a disaster, followed by queen f8, checkmate. You can see it, right?
Yes.
The king is so lonely. And after king h8, queen f8 is also decisive. White is winning. So that's already winning. King f7, queen f8 again, followed up with equals queen and mate to follow in this case. Like the lines are so sharp, but you see, black is relying on this only move in all these branches to be able to survive.
Yeah.
And it's understandable because pieces are coming on the king side for white. It's so easy to understand. Those sacrifices too, as you mentioned. Bishop g7 sacrifice. It's so hard to play like this in a practical game. That's why Larsen plays rook f7. He's also anticipating bishop g7 sacrifice. Can you see it?
Yes.
He's a strong player. He sees bishop g7 sacrifice, so he thinks, well, that's a multi-purpose move because I also defend here. But it turns out to be a game-losing mistake. Game-losing mistake. And here, Tal plays h4. Tal doesn't mind. Tal keeps playing slow moves. The game goes on. It's a long-term sacrifice. Now the point is very simple. h5 and g6. I remove the guard. I open up lines, and
Yes.
I win on the king side. It's so amazing, yeah? The queen and the rook are bystanders to what's going on the king side. Bishop b7. h5 was a winning move. Interesting. Tal missed that. g6 to follow. The game is over. It's actually very simple. g6 is coming on the next turn, and the rook has to give way of his defensive function. Instead, Tal plays the move bishop takes f5. Can you see it? Because the rook is, let's say, overloaded in this case. The rook is defending here while also here. So he's winning a pawn in this position with bishop takes f5. Takes and takes. This was the point of this exchange.
Yeah.
It looks like now we are crashing through on g7, but Larsen comes up with a trick. It's knight e5. Knight e5 blunts the bishop while also attacking the queen. The pawn is pinned in this case. And now in this case, we're going to see one interesting moment, one interesting phase of this game. Namely, Tal gonna gain the piece back. Wait, he will gain the piece back in this position. And after all these complications here, right? Because you can take the knight. If you take my rook, I will take your rook as well. You see those complications?
Yeah.
Rook f4, queen e3. My queen still keeps in touch to your rook, so you cannot really grab my rook on e7, which he does ultimately. In this case, queen e2 the same. I still keep an eye on the rook, so my rook is untouchable, let's say. Takes. So the smoke is clearing. Can you see? The smoke is clearing. We gain the piece back. And now comes my question. D takes e5. What's the best way to react to this move?
I think
White is only a single winning move.
rook e1.
Yes, rook e1. He never forgets about the final piece. This is also his calculation, so he sees rook e1, and now he will win one more pawn in the process, and he will have 2 extra pawns as a result. The smoke is clearing. White has 2 extra pawns in his position, and he goes on to convert this position. And the key is queen f4. Lots of tactical ideas, lots of tactical moves.
Yeah.
Queen f4 is an aligning move. Can you see it? It aligns with the opponent's queen. So then the question becomes, can they take on d5 in this case? Is it really possible?
Rook e8, right?
Right. You're amazing. If they take on d5, comes rook e8 check. That's a very nice motif, right? In those puzzle rush moments as well. This queen is now unguarded. The king has no moves. Well, this is just game over. So by aligning with the opponent's queen, he's disallowing bishop takes d5. Yep. That's the point. And he's claiming that his 2 extra pawns plus, better pieces in this position is a game-winning advantage. The game went like this. I will show you the final move as well because it's funny. He goes queen e4. The king is quite safe. They can check us, but d2 is a safe haven. You see, there's no more check to follow, and the king is quite safe. Yep. Now d5 is also under control, so you can't even take the pawn on d5. And meanwhile, our attack is also coming on the king side. Very centralized piece. Let's look, every single piece is centralized. So black is nothing. They go b3. Well, a tricky move, let's say, to be able to open up this b4 square for the queen. Tal calculates. King d2. Yes, there's one more check right now, but everything is guarded. right? The king is quite safe after c3. There's no more check to follow. Queen d6 was forced. And then again, white has so many winning moves, but Tal chooses the most forcing finish in this case. He finishes off the task in a very elegant way. And that's the move bishop c5. Another sacrifice, bishop c5. What could be the point of this bishop sacrifice?
Oh,
It's such a great calculator.
the reason I'm thinking is the first move I was thinking about was rook e8.
Yes, rook e8 is also winning, by the way. Rook e8 is also winning.
Yeah, but
He will go
it
with
didn't
rook
really
e8.
make sense with the bishop move.
Yes. So what could be the point of inducing queen takes c5? Because he's removing the queen from a defensive function, from a defensive post, right? He's forcing the queen to move away from d6. That's the game continuation. That's your line, by the way. He goes rook e8. Rook f8 is forced. Otherwise, you get mated, right? That line is just mate in one.
Mm-hmm.
You see, the first point of moving the queen from
right.
e6 is this just checkmate.
Yes.
So rook f8 is forced in this position. And then comes my question. White to play and win. There's only single branch.
Only a single
That
branch.
wins. Yeah, there's only a single variation that wins for white. And of course, Tal has seen this before playing bishop c5.
That's...
We are down a piece. We must find something.
What is this? I want to continue with the queen e6 now because
Yes,
he
queen
did
e6
remove
check
the
is the
queen
most
after
forcing.
all, but...
It's the most forcing move for sure.
Yes, and then king h8.
It's forced.
Yes.
Please visualize that position. You will need to find one more crushing move for white at that moment. White to play and win.
Am I blind?
What is the motif that you must use? Checkmate motif. Back rank, right? Back rank is weakened. There's already pressure on a fate. You need to put more pressure on that piece. But how?
Oh, okay. You can disconnect them maybe by pushing the pawn.
Yes, but it's simply too slow because then they will start giving some checks like queen f2 and so on. Yeah, the bishop is also sort of gaining some more scope if you play d6.
Yeah, I just want to mention
But you're very close.
I just want to mention to chat, by the way, that you are allowed to guess as well. So
Yes, here we are looking at the best move here for white.
So
by the way, this is also winning. That's also a winning move, but there's a much more forcing finish for white.
Oh, of course. Chat is saying queen f7, put pressure on the pin
Yes.
piece, of course.
PP on the PP, queen f7,
Yes.
and the game finished. Bernd Larsen resigned in his position because there's no way for them to guard the rooks second time, and you don't even allow them to do queen f2 check, right? That's the only potential check. Of course, they can take the pawn with a check, but that still leads to a back rank mate, right? In this case.
Yes.
Sorry, not back rank mate, but we are winning easily in this position. Extra exchange and so many pawns, right? You see how deep he, I mean, you see his calculations. He calculated this line in a very forcing way. He was seeing some queen e6 check potential. He was, of course, seeing all these lines. He didn't like this queen d6 because then our queen could be captured. Once he saw that, he understood that the queen was the game spoiler for us. Then he removed the queen from its post with bishop c5. Yeah, that's a nice calculation from Tal's side. Having said that, any move is winning. Maybe b4 is also winning. Yeah, maybe you can first play b4 and then bishop c5. Yeah, that could be, let's say, more like technical solution. But Tal, yeah, is also a magician. He's an artist, right? He wants to finish off the task as soon as possible. Yeah, if it's winning, okay, then he just goes for it. Indeed, that's a forcing finish because black is nothing in all these lines. But what makes this game is really interesting is this sacrifice on d5. This was the key for the whole operation to even take shape, right? Like White's entire game plan revolved around this piece potential. And now we can go back to this position and we can discuss why g6 was the only way for black to play this position. It also takes like an engine heroic defense. Bishop d8 is the only move, for example, here. And then comes queen h3. Can you see it?
Yeah.
It looks like
I was just
it looks
wondering
like
how do you defend from
how
that?
do you defend? How do you defend against all these ideas? It's so difficult. Like imagine a practical game. Your queen is in Siberia, your rook is in Siberia. They are disconnected from the king side. The knight cannot join the defense as well. Look at those pawns. Look at the slicing bishops. There are ideas like f5 as well in this position later on. So it's so hard. And then apparently knight e5 is the only move for black in this position to survive. Yeah. And Larsen has to see this from afar before playing g6. That's the problem. Even so, if you take the knight, that's the problem. Bishop h3, of course. Yeah. So
of course.
they're attacking our queen first.
Yeah, but I was
Queen
just
h6.
why can you not do the exchange sacrifice?
Wait, because the queen is hanging still in this position.
Oh yeah, it's
they can
hanging.
take our
Yeah,
queen.
okay.
But wait, because after queen h6, it looks like knight is pinned. I'm crushing you. Not to mention those ideas now coming. Yeah, potentially.
Yeah, but
maybe
exchange
even f5.
sacrifice now.
He goes bishop b6. It's black's turn here.
Yeah.
Black's only defense is bishop b6. And they have to find this from afar as well.
Okay.
They will disturb our bishop on d4. That's the point.
Yeah.
If you take on e5, then they will take on d4. It's like a disgusting engine defense, as we say. But again, white's a better move here. White will take on e5 with the bishop. Sorry, white will play f5 in this position. We're not even finished yet. We want to play f6 and queen g7 mate in this position.
Yeah.
And again, black's only move is bishop f5. They need to destroy that pawn. Then you take on f5. It's untouchable. They will play the move rook e8. It's only in this line black is better. Then you take on e5. Potentially, black is slightly better in this position. Yeah, because there's no mate. There's no mate in this case.
That is not easy.
But white can also, white can do many different things here as well. For example, if you take on f5, then I will take on e5. Your exchange sacrifice. Yeah. Follow it up with bishop takes b6 because now my queen is also eyeing that bishop. We are down in exchange, but it's great potential for an attack. Imagine in the practical game, all these moves are coming, and black needs to find, again, even here, moves like f4, and it seems like it's just mate, but then they play the move f6 to defend. It's disgusting engine defense.
Yeah,
so,
this
again,
is a bit disgusting.
So you see, that's a practical advantage of playing this position with white pieces. Because meanwhile, while your attack can evolve using general principles and easy moves like rook e1, yeah, even h4, h5 is a very easy plan in this position to improve for white. Blacks needs to find 6, 7 only moves to survive. Very concrete only moves to survive. So again, talking about psychology, Tal says there are two types of sacrifices, correct ones and mine.
Yes.
Right? So that's a Tal sacrifice. Not entirely correct according to the engine, but quite powerful when the clock is ticking.
Yeah? Yes, definitely. Those bishops.
Now you learned
so
one more
nice.
pattern today.
Yeah.
Because you've not seen this pattern before, I guess. Knight d5 sacrifices in a Sicilian. Just pure knight sacrifice for no checkmate, nothing. The game goes on.
But also because I usually play, I play the Grand Prix. But, I have to say, after watching these Open Sicilian games, I'm getting kind of tempted to try because you actually get to do the F-pawn push. But I don't know, can you still play the opening like this? Or have people...
Yeah. Of course. I mean, there are different ways to handle Open Sicilian. F4s are very respectable systems for white, like these 2 pawns still. So you can definitely take those structures. Like that even against the pure Najdorf, you can play the F4 systems. I mean, if you want to achieve this pawn formation, there are surely ways. Even here, F4 is a move. Very similar structures, very similar plans. It
looks very
so
fun.
I think any serious player should try the Open Sicilian, to my mind. This is hugely important for also general chess knowledge, also logical part of those ideas. Yeah, quite direct way of playing for white, quite logical way of fighting for the center, doing all the good things. So it's I think it's definitely worth a try. So don't limit yourself with a certain structure. Like at some point you can try.
Yeah, I'm tempted.
Yeah. So again, Tal in the last 2 sessions show us the strength of Open Sicilian. His knights never moved backward. I don't recall a single Tal knight backward move in these 2 sessions. We will see if the trend continues.
Yeah, actually, there's not a single knight move back.
Yeah, I don't think we saw even one knight retreat.
Nope.
If you saw one, let me know. Okay, that could be our goal today. Okay.
Definitely.
The second game. Are you happy with the first game? Are there any other questions also from the public?
I don't think I have any questions. I think I asked all of mine
Yes.
kind of during the session. But I think it makes sense, and even the positional sacrifice makes sense to me.
Yes. Again, like seeing these things is one thing, but daring to play like this in a practical game is a different thing, right? Like, but of course, once you have these patterns in mind, maybe it will be a little bit easier for you to even contemplate and consider making moves like this.
Yeah.
At least you can tell yourself, hey, I want to play like Tal. I know that Tal did something similar. Maybe you can get more confidence
But
in those positions.
I think it makes a lot of sense also, not only because of the bishops and the e-file, but much because of your pawns, really. Like the g pawn blocks
Huge,
the
yeah.
f6 square, and then your d5 pawn, it kind of just locks everything down.
Yeah,
so they
exactly.
don't have any defenders, really.
No piece can really contribute to the defense. That's the problem for black, really.
Yeah.
Like, especially the queen. Can you see how badly placed the queen was for the entire game?
Yeah.
And how the rook never played a single role in the game? And their pawn storm was not even happening on the queen side. Yeah, just we took the initiative and we just delivered it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bam, bam, bam.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
But I think the f5 move, I don't think I would have considered myself if I was black.
Yeah, he wanted to blunt the bishop, but wait, there's a much more concrete threat. Yeah, queen e4 was a game-winning threat in his position, so he had to do something against the queen e4
And you
idea.
don't want to play g6?
G6 was a must, but then he must have thought h4, h5 is coming. Yeah, that's a hook pawn. Plus, he must have thought that at some point the queen is infiltrating y h6. Again, you can totally see ghosts in a practical game, right? G6 has clear drawbacks as well. I mean, the diagonal is getting weakened, dark squares, h6 is getting weakened, h4, h5 is promoted, right? You can totally also convince yourself that that's a bad move for black.
Yeah.
I just tried to explain, I just tried to understand why Bent Larsen played like this and he refused g6. Even here, yeah, he didn't choose bishop d8, which was the best move. He played this because he's also preventing bishop g7 sacrifice.
Yeah.
Which was killing in all these lines except this line, which he doesn't kill, so to speak. Yeah, this queen h5. But black needs to find all these moves to survive this sacrifice. It's crazy. It's just completely insane. Yeah. And that's why we say defending is much more concrete than attacking. Attacks can be built on general principles. I think it's definitely correct. You can rely on typical ideas, typical motifs when attacking, when evolving your attacks. But the burden of calculation is definitely on the defensive side, most likely.
Yeah. Is it King's Indian?
King's Indian is coming. Wait, Benoni or King's Indian? Yeah, this King's Indian. But Tal also liked the Benoni, of course, so they will probably transpose at some point. White plays f3, sort of same-ish kind of structures. Right? So we castle short, knight e2. Okay, Tal chooses c5. You can also play e5, of course. He chooses c5. This sort of resembles more like, I mean, not pure Benoni yet, but definitely one way to play in the King's Indian to activate the bishop on this diagonal. Quite logical. White usually plays d5, but in the actual game, he plays bishop e3. Knight e7. Very standard, very typical. I guess if you play knight c6, then they will play d5, and this just comes with a tempo on the knight. You can't go to d4 yet because you lose a pawn, and knight e5 is unstable because at some point they will chase a knight, let's say, with f4. Yeah. So he just keeps it on d7 for the moment. Queen d2. He anticipates that they will castle long. So tell me one little idea for black in this position. He's making a move, flexible move.
I just want to mention, actually, we got a question in the last session. There was a viewer that asked about, but in King's Indian, what if white play bishop, queen alignment and castle long? They were asking about this. So here we actually got a game where white does this.
Here we are. What if white tries to kill us like this? Yeah, h4, h5, g4, g5, bishop h6, mate. That's sort of their intention, yeah? Of course, center is not locked yet. Usually the center is stabilized with moves like d5 for the flank attacks to fully work. But yeah, that's one of these ideas for white, potentially. Because they will make the game much more sharper. And that's why Tal is making a move that prepares a storm on the queen side.
Yes, because if you want to discourage them for castling long, I guess you can do some pawn thrust.
Yes, he plays a6. He simply prepares the move b5 later on. That's it. That's the basic idea. He anticipates they will castle long, which they did in the actual game. And he gets ready for a potential b5, right? Because we want to open up lines on the queen side. That's our goal in this case. Open up lines, activate the pieces, attack and hopefully we'll be the first one to give mate before they can mate us on the king side. Yeah, the gist is the same, just like last game. The kings have castled on opposite flanks. So the game instantly becomes much sharper. Timing becomes everything. Pawn storm becomes everything.
Yes.
So we'll see. We'll see which one prevails. B5 is one of the best moves, by the way. You can sacrifice the pawn directly. If they take twice, I think that's just a chess crime. Because not to mention I can even get my pawn back directly, but also look what happened to your king side, right? That was a pawn that white should not have taken on the queen side. That's why b5 was one of the good moves for black, actually, directly. But Tal plays the move queen a5, very logical as well. Yeah, the queen is joining the zone, let's say. The queen is joining the queen side and contributing to b5 thrust anyhow, because the queen is guarding b5. But usually we say b5 is more flexible because in all these permutations you will play b5 anyhow. So if you can play it directly, usually we say you should play it first, right? Because in all these permutations, this pawn thrust is helping you on the queen side. But maybe there's some drawback to queen a5 down the line, which we'll actually see very soon. This alignment might cause some problems to black in this position.
Yeah.
Tal goes b5, and white plays a very typical move when those queens are aligned and when our queen is loose piece. Zero attacker and zero defender makes this queen a loose piece. Maybe you've seen this pattern before. Have you ever seen this pattern before, Suvai? White will make a knight move in this case. This knight on c3 will move. What do you think this knight has moved in actual game? They want to use this particular alignment between the queens.
Knight d5.
Yes. He plays knight d5 because first of all he's playing as Mikhail Tal. He wants to trade the queens, but also you can see it, right? If you now trade the queen, take the queen on d2, they will have this Zwishenschach, intermediate check with knight e7, very typical, and then they will take the queen. White is completely winning in this position with an extra pawn. Okay?
Yeah.
So knight d5 is a very serious idea for white, and that's why they played king b1, by the way, because queen d2 cannot come with a check anymore. Can you see it?
Yes.
They are preparing knight d5 by moving the king to b1. Knight d5 is on the board. And now the magician does some magic in this position. Black to play.
Did he sacrifice his queen?
Yes. Yes.
Because I was
think like a
thinking
magician already.
knight d5, then you can do knight e3.
Yes.
I don't know. But that's just...
Please visualize that moment. Please visualize that. At least give some thought to that sacrifice. Knight takes d5, queen takes a5.
Yes.
Knight takes e3.
Yes.
You gain two minor pieces, but even the c4 will be hanging next, right? The knight will take on c4 and attack the queen. At the very least, you will win one more pawn and get a knight on c4. Okay?
Yeah.
So then becomes the judgment. How do you judge that sacrifice? Because we'll be having two minors plus a pawn for the queen. How does the chess math work, basically?
Well, right? 7 points, so...
Versus 9 points.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And also black is gonna have a bit more fun, I think.
Yes, and what makes you think that black will have some fun at that moment in that very position?
Because you have a lot of pieces to play around with, and I also quite like the position actually. I don't think it's very easy for white to conduct any attack soon, at least. But you have come a bit further on the
yes,
queen side.
The gist is the same, right? The gist is to attack the opponent's king as early as possible.
Yeah.
And black is claiming that his attack is still quite menacing on the queen side. That's the game continuation. Positional queen sacrifice. Knight takes d5. Bang. Right? Shocker.
Yes.
Shocker. And he will take on c4 on the next turn once the rook moves. This is Tal's vision. That's what he calculated when coming to this position. Also, never forget.
Yes, I like this. And
unopposed bishop. Beautiful bishop on this long diagonal.
Yeah, you just need to do something with your pawns to open up for your rook, I think, so it can join maybe in the b file or something.
Exactly. Ultimately, if you also get this rook on an open file like that, you can also see the end. Also, look at the white pieces on the king side. They are quite terrible in this position. They're not in a position to activate. That knight is sort of tied down that pawn. If you push the pawn, then the bishop becomes a monster. You see, even like there are problems on the d4 square for white. It's not easy to do, even to guard the pawn on d4 because of the bishop's potential. Right? It's amazing, actually. Like,
it is.
already 2 minor pieces are giving us great compensation for the queen. Plus, we have a pawn, of course. Plus, potential to activate even further and improve further.
Yeah,
So,
and even the this is.
it's funny. The machine is giving advantage to black. The machine is favoring black in this position. Yes.
Really?
Yes. So it was objectively a correct queen sacrifice. This one. Knight takes d5. Minus 0.3 or something for black, this line.
Is this also connected? This might be a very stupid question, by the way.
There are no stupid questions in my lesson.
I know. But there's so many pawns on the board, it's easier for the knights to move here, right? And you have 2, and if you get to advance your pawn somehow, you have space advantage too. Isn't that also favoring minor pieces? I don't know.
Yes, I mean, in some sense, you can claim that, for example, these pawns are looking at each other. Maybe at some point there will be an exchange, but then my knight will become an excellent piece in the long run on c5. I can even improve it further in this position. In terms of space advantage, I'm not sure whether you can call this like a space advantage per se, because then their minor should be limited by, let's say, our pawn chain in some sense. It's not so much about space advantage choking their minor pieces, but I think it's about like dynamically, it's much easier to coordinate our pieces to the attack on the queen side and harmonize our pieces so they can attack common targets that easily on the queen side, namely this b2 pawn potentially opening up further lines and so on. Even the bishop might find some job later on, on this diagonal. Once we exchange, let's say on d4, there will be this clearance over here as well. Our bishop can also shoot on the queen side in this case. So it's more like, I think, piece harmony and so on. Also, this knight's excellent. Yeah.
And also, it's not so easy for white's rooks to do anything purposeful,
yes.
maybe?
Yes. For example, the best move apparently is queen e1, but then I will take on d4. I won one more pawn. And now my knight is maybe coming here or there. I can even push the pawn, let's say, and activate my bishop, you see? It's already getting like difficult to play for white actually this position. That's why he didn't retreat the queen. The queen was attacked by the knight, so he sacked the exchange in this position.
Yeah, I was wondering about that too. Is that a good option?
That's a good option. That's one of the best moves for white in this position. Also very practical, I would say. Yeah, given Tal's knights. Oh, wait! Tal's knight moved backward in this position. Knight takes c4.
It did, but then it died also. So
but then it died.
yes.
Okay, that's justified. Okay, so if you go backward for a single move, you die.
Yes.
Okay, that's the conclusion.
And if you go forward, you usually die too with the knight, but then at least you die at your own hands. You're not killed.
At least you open the b file while you died for your rooks. And that's the final point. Yeah, if you sack the exchange, then you open the b file, and that's good news for my rook.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the final point of this queen sacrifice. So then he goes knight c1. I mean, again, hard to suggest anything for white in this position because look at their pieces.
Yeah,
the knight has to move. Yeah. But if knight moves, then you lose the pawn on d4. That's a problem. And if you take on c5, then my knight becomes an excellent piece on c5. And look at my bishop. It's becoming an octopus on d3 on the next turn. Not to mention bishop e6 and so on. I mean, rook b8 is just so hard for white to play. Like a single queen is not doing anything as well. Like she'll be harassed on the queen side, by the black pieces. So, yeah, he plays knight c1. We are coming to an interesting moment. Of course, Tal makes the most natural move, rook b8. This can be played without much calculation. Bishop takes c4. Knight b6. You can also take on d4 directly. That was the best move objectively. Just take and take it from there. Yeah. But he first plays knight b6 to attack the bishop. That's also a good move. Then he takes on d4. Yeah. Now we clarify the situation. He wins 2 pawns, I guess. Yeah. Now he has like 7 versus 5. Yeah. No, wait. Only 1 extra pawn. Still 2 minors. Wait, he sacrificed the rook as well. So I can't even count the material. But that's not even important anymore, yeah, this material count. We should look at the piece potential and potential for the black pieces to activate further. Not to mention I use like c4 to clean the b file and so on.
You have a question.
Yes.
King is wondering, what if after takes d5 and knight c3?
Takes on c4, knight c3 in this case.
takes d5 and knight c3.
Wait. Ah, you mean white should recapture the knight on d5. They should not take the queen. Is that the question?
Well, it says takes d5 and knight c3. I'm not sure.
I wonder because white can take on d5 in several different moments, yeah? Maybe.
No. Oh, okay. It says no after rook takes c4.
Rook takes c4. Okay, so we are talking about here. Rook takes c4.
Knight c3.
Yes. B takes c4 and knight c3. Yes. This was an okay move as well. The problem is c takes d4 is coming with a tempo on the knight. Right? And maybe knight d5 to follow. Okay, there's some thought to this. They are activating their pieces. The problem is those two pawns are menacing. We can push c3 or even d3 to blunt the bishop. Look at the bishop. On f1. They can't develop a piece.
But
While our bishop is becoming excellent.
okay, he says no, d5 first.
Okay, d5 first and then knight c3. All right, this is more logical. I agree. Rook b8, knight c3 is your thought, yeah? You want to blockade like this.
Yes.
Then I would play knight e5 most likely to defend my pawn. Also highlight those ideas potentially, yeah? To improve my pawn structure, to attack here. It's not fun. It's not fun to play this position with white. Let me tell you, it's not fun. Even here, it's not fun. We have even like ideas like bishop b7, even doubling up our rooks. We have so many ideas to improve on the queen side.
Queen is not very mobile.
I'm just curious. Okay, Engine also likes black here. Okay, yeah. Black is like minus 1.6 even. Borderline winning. Okay. So apparently Tal was right. That he is already better in his position. Knight f4 was the best apparently here. Knight f4. To directly go to d5, not to allow this tempo on the knight. Yeah, that's the point, of course. This was best for white, this line. Yeah. Knight e5 is the bishop, bishop b3, bishop b7, with those ideas potentially, yeah? Rook b8, doubling up, take it from there. Mm-hmm. Again, it's like a totally long-term sacrifice. It's not like black to play and win. Black doesn't mean anything. Just the game plays itself. He trusts the dynamics of the position. Knight b6, bishop b3, bishop d4, queen d2. The queen also was misplaced on a5, let's say, and she goes back to d2, which is, again, sort of defensive.
Yes, because maybe you can't push the c.
Yeah. You see, white is just so lagging behind when it comes to their storm on the king side. It's so difficult. That's the problem. Bishop g7 was chosen by Tal. Why? Because he wants to play c4, right?
Yes.
He wants to play c4. He doesn't want this bishop to drop in this position. That's it. Also an excellent piece, defending as queen h6 ideas. It's a multi-purpose move. It's a very safe square for the bishop. Sniper bishop, as you say, yeah? Like, look at this guy, unopposed bishop. Every Benonian King's Indian player's dream to have a bishop like that.
Yeah, it's a monster.
Then comes c4, yeah? Yes. And here comes the key moment. Okay, c4 kicks the bishop, bishop c2, comes another key moment here. Like to play?
Oh.
I invite everybody to find Mikhail Tal's move.
I just wanted to do c3, but let me think. Let me think. I wanna clear the way for the rook.
You mean clear the c-file for the rook? Okay, but maybe you don't even need that. Maybe d-file clearance is already enough.
No. Clear the path for the rook.
Yes.
Because we have something in the way, the knight.
Exactly. You're in the right way. So, what are the candidates?
Can I go backward?
No. That's disallowed in Tal's games. Only forward with knight.
Is he sacrificing the knight here?
Well, he sacrifices something, but not the knight.
Okay.
That knight is necessary. Think about this way. What pawn is getting in the way of that piece? There's a piece of wood that is getting in the way.
Is it c3?
Yes, but you must verbalize to me. What's the point of c3?
No,
Why are we sacrificing the pawn?
That was the first thing I wanted to play, but then I stopped after knight takes c3.
Okay, then you missed the real point of c3 sacrifice. Verbalize. What's the point of the sacrifice?
Open the file? No. Open the square for the knight.
Exactly. Open the square for the knight.
Yes,
This pawn is a piece of wood. that is getting in the way of your knight. It's a hindrance on your knight. Please get rid of it. Sacrifice a damn piece of wood and get your knight on that square.
That makes
Yeah?
sense, but
Mental shift. That's it.
oh.
C3 comes with tempo, and knight c4 is coming on the next turn.
Yeah, that is not easy to defend, because I was thinking, oh yeah, you can just drop the queen back, but you actually are lacking.
It's a beautiful move.
You're lacking
Also so timely.
defenders.
Yeah, because if you don't play c3, let's say you make a random move, bishop d7. White will play knight c3, and they will freeze your pawn on c4. Now you can no longer sacrifice it, and there's a blockade. There is some stability on the queen side, you see? So this was a very timely pawn sacrifice.
After... Oh yeah, because you actually have to move. Yeah, that is a nasty move, actually.
It's a nasty move. I think this is, I mean, with the queen sacrifice, that's the second most beautiful move in the entire game. Also a very educational move, yeah? Very teachable moment, c3. It can teach you so many good things about dynamics in chess and when to sacrifice. Also understanding timing of sacrifices, yeah? Timing.
I can't find a good way for white to defend from that. That is what I'm thinking about.
Let's look at knight c3. What if they take the pawn? Then Tal's knight is going forward again. Boom. Well, double attack sort of, yeah? Knight c4. It's already clear, right? We are completely crashing through. Like, it's so clear to a strong player's eye. 3 attackers, only a single defender, let's say. I mean, it's just game over. Plus, those pieces are coming very soon. Bishop e6, rook c8 if we need to.
Yeah,
Plus,
you have
rook
knight...
b2 followed by... yeah, just disaster, yeah?
You have knight a3 resources if needed.
Not to mention bishop h6 checks in this position. Can you see how devastating this is? Let's put it on until the very end. This is such a beautiful check as well. Oh, this was the final point of bishop g7 because he's even anticipating bishop a6 check potentially. Yes.
That's so
King d1,
nice.
knight e3, another forward-looking move. Octopus on e3. This time comes with a double threat, of course, right?
Oh, that is very nasty.
This is nasty. Just look at those 3 pieces, finishing off the white king.
So strong.
Yeah, that's
the
it.
rooks collaborate very well with these minor pieces.
It's totally about harmony. That's also this game, yeah? Totally about how to harmonize your pieces. So they fight for the common goal, fight for the common targets. It's just amazing. The game is over here. And, well, if you don't take on c3, then what? I mean, if you can't take on c3, he played queen d3 in the actual game, which is actually better. Because at least after Tal takes on b2, what do we call such pawns to white? You're a big master, yes.
Umbrella.
At least white wants to create an umbrella on b2, right? His claim is that this pawn is an umbrella, shielding my king. That's his basic claim, yeah?
Yes.
There's some thought behind this. That's a reasonable choice for white, actually, to play like this.
Yeah.
Now Tal will need to find a way to remove the blockade or to find a way to enter and to attack the white king. Because that's still our main goal on the queen side, yeah? We still play for an attack on the queen side.
Your light squared bishop is not doing anything.
Yes. So then he first starts with the light square bishop. He plays bishop d7 in this position, also to pay way for the rook, final piece, to join the attack. Yeah. Rook d1. Well, white needs to guard the knight on d4 as well, but it's also not, attacking move at all. Like, white is still so much behind for their pawn turn. Rook c8. Tal takes it easy. He just improves the final piece. Very simple chess indeed. Bishop b3. This looks more logical, but there is still no threat on this diagonal. That's already well guarded. Again, there are many winning moves for black in this position. You can even talk about maybe a5, a4 to chase the bishop and so on.
Yeah.
But he plays, again, another forward move by Mikhail Tal's knight. Knight a4. This time he's eyeing this little square on c3, you see? That's how he will remove the blockade. And he will attack the white king, basically.
So he takes...
And this is so deadly that they must take that knight. But then their beautiful bishop disappears, yeah? That bishop was a good defensive piece. So he's sort of exchanging off a defender with this move. Plus, the bishop is also excellent, the bishop pair. Knight b3. Can you see? The rook improves with attacking the queen. The rest is actually just simple chess here. He removes the defender as well. The final defender is traded off. And then comes my question. Okay, black to play and win. I mean, what would you play in this position? In a practical game, let's say. What would be the most direct way to play this?
I'm just wondering, I just need to count how this ends up. I was looking at rook c1.
Yes? You mean
So,
like directly checking on c1? Okay, that's interesting.
yes, but then, yeah, you end up with a rook and a bishop against a queen. That is not enough, I think.
That's enough. Also, you lose your beautiful asset on b2.
Mm-hmm. I guess you could also just do maybe rook b c8.
Exactly. Tal plays simple chess. What's the point of this move? What's the big threat?
What I just mentioned, right?
Yes. Now what you mentioned just gains strength, right? It's coming on c1 the next turn. And the umbrella is no longer shielding the white king. Yeah, that's the beautiful part.
Yes,
This will
and you
come and
can
your king is
take
in
because
trouble.
of the discovered check, basically.
Exactly. Exactly. Even the umbrella is serving a great function of controlling the c1 square. And white is helpless. There's no defense whatsoever, right? Like there's nothing they can do. They can't guard physically the c1 square. If you take on b2, yeah, discover check, right?
Yep.
Take the queen. But I will go until the very end because there's a funny ending here. Rook c1, your move. Takes, takes,
Mm-hmm.
king a2. What is the most aesthetic
From
checkmate here?
I
Right? White can
oh
checkmate you in
yeah,
three
I
different ways.
want to promote, but I guess it more is it do you think it's more beautiful with the rook instead?
I don't think. I think there's a more beautiful finish here.
Really?
Rook a1 is also beautiful, but there's a more beautiful finish.
You don't you can okay, but you didn't want to promote? Oh, chat is
I want to
suggesting
promote.
you can promote to a bishop.
Yes, look at this. You promote to a bishop checkmate. Look at this, Olay. Isn't it cute?
Did he
Isn't
do
it cute?
that?
Yeah, no, he resigned,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately. His opponent resigned here. Oh, come on. You should have played king a2 and allowed him to promote to a bishop. Come on.
That would be that was really cute.
That's cute, right? How often do
Yeah.
you see a bishop promotion and checkmate at the same time?
I
Also, the
think
picture of harmony, right? Look at this harmonious black pieces,
I think
slicing
that is the
bishops.
first time I've seen bishop mate promotion.
It's very rare. It's a very, very rare thing. Also, in general, bishop promotion is extremely rare, but even bishop promotion checkmate is quite rare.
Yes.
And it's one of those.
Oh,
One of
I love
those.
this one. It was really fun.
So the umbrella became a bishop in the end. Isn't it funny?
Yes.
Umbrella bishop checkmate.
Yeah, that's really fun.
Yes.
Oh, I love
It's
this
a fun,
one.
fun game, right? It's a beautiful one. It's a beautiful
I
one.
it's a
Yeah.
positional queen sacrifice in the same-ish. That's
Traditional queen sacrifice. That's what you're going for, guys. Having said that, b5 is also very logical with everything that we discussed, but then the game will be different, of course. What you learned is this very nice trick for white as well, offering this exchange on
yes.
d5. It sometimes works for white, by the way. For example, sometimes you're forced to play a move like queen d8, just to be able to guard your opponent, you see?
Yeah.
And white, of course, gains some ground. They repel your queen from there. But here, of course, Tal's queens also don't go backward. Oh boy, maybe that's its second team. Tal queen doesn't go backward as well, of course. So this must be a principled decision. Instead of going backward, I will sack it. That's what he says.
I have to say I'm not gonna say I have done similar things because I have definitely not done similar things like Tal, but I have done sometimes queen sacrifices to have more minor pieces, but that is in speed chess because then it can be
Yeah.
so difficult for the defender, especially if you have the two knights and you can just wreak
Right.
all sorts of havoc with it.
Yeah. Knights are very tricky in blitz and bullet chess, of course. But I can imagine you, daring more and maybe sacrificing more.
C3, I love
Your
it.
style aligns with that. C3 was definitely a star move as well, And again, just look at because in my book, in my course on Chessable, the art of awakening pieces, there's a separate chapter on such pawn sacrifices. I
Yes.
call them piece of wood that is getting in the
Yes.
way.
I
You must
remember
observe. Yeah, you remember, right?
you
That's a
have
piece of wood
a
that is getting in the way of the knight. Your
yes.
knight wants to go there. So you
I
sacrifice it.
remember you have a position on it where you play, I think you play d4 or something to
Yes, exactly.
awaken the
I
bishop,
remember.
I think, yeah.
Yes, I remember that. Yep. So once knight joins the battle, the game is just directly over, yeah? Just one more attacker on the king's side. It's so beautiful, the c3 move. It's so amazing. And
Yeah, I
then
love it.
the rest is
And
also umbrella. Yeah. Such a beautiful game.
yeah, really.
Yeah, this is one of my, of course, favorite Tal games because it's also my style. Long-term sacrifices because you see this entire trade-off between quality, material, and time. Chess is a beautiful game with all these three dimensions. So you can see all these interactions between different dimensions in a beautiful game like this. So that's what I love about this long-term sacrifices.
Can I ask who is the opponent here?
Mirko Bobotsov, World Championship under 26, 1958. So Tal is only 21-year-old here, and he's playing under 26 World Championship in this case. Right? This is a strong player at this time. Not so famous, but he's definitely strong.
Yeah.
And Tal shows his style. Okay?
Is this
Are you ready for one more firework? Yes.
another Open Sicilian?
Another Open Sicilian is no. Oh, you will love this because he crushes the Caro-Kann.
Oh, really? Now I need to pay attention.
Please pay attention. Although they choose a very unconventional line in the Caro-Kann, namely Gurgenitze variation played by Gurgenitze. Of course, Tal is playing with a personal game name to this line in the Caro-Kann. That's why this is not so common anymore, this move b5. Will be still interesting though. We'll see some Caro-Kann structures.
Yeah.
The point of b5 is to disturb the knight as early as possible and to take away some squares and so on and so on. Space gaining move, flexible and so on. Tal plays a3. Interesting. Tal respects this plan of b4, so he protects his knight. Now we sort of transition to a normal Caro-Kann. Yeah, remember? Mainline Caro-Kann structure with d takes e4, knight takes e4 lines in the Caro-Kann. This is very typical. Now only insertion is the b5 and a3 moves, actually. So yeah. Bishop d3. Can they take on d4? I wonder here.
No.
Why not?
Wait. Yeah, why not? There's no bishop check.
There's no bishop check, right? It's good that you check for that blunder, by the way.
Yeah.
Because the queen is loose, there's an alignment going on here, but there is no direct refutation. So that's a long-term positional pawn sacrifice.
You can develop with tempo, though.
Yes, the point is just develop the tempo, and well, the queen is sort of awkwardly placed. Maybe it has to go to d8 and so on, and maybe queen e2 aligning with the king, right? Your idea is to disturb black's development on the king side.
Is there a reason you chose, because chat suggested bishop e3? Is it a reason?
That's also a very, very nice move, by the way. That's also a very, very nice move. If they take on b2, I mean, there are some problems like knight e2, castle short, rook b1, the queen is misplaced. Again, it's a developmental compensation for white. Yeah?
Yeah.
And with queen d8, sort of a similar story. Yeah, you can play queen f3 sometimes to attack the bishop, maybe castle long to align with your rook and the queen. Yeah, it's all about rapid development, like Murphy. He's playing like Morphy, more or less. And that's why against Tal, you don't take that pawn. That's also a secret sauce. Yeah, you don't take such pawns against Tal. So he plays bishop takes e4. He wants to exchange some pieces.
Is it a marshmallow pawn?
Sorry?
Is it a marshmallow pawn?
Sort of a marshmallow pawn, yes. Sort of a marshmallow pawn. Although, as Dr. Lasker says, if you can grab a central pawn without getting destroyed, if you don't see a direct refutation, then usually we should grab those pawns, yeah? Because central pawns are very important in chess. So he advised us, of course, everything is an exception. He advised us to generally grab central pawns if it's not like a direct refutation. It turns out white's compensation here is still too much for black to handle because also they wasted this move with b5 and so on, yeah? Also look at their king side. I mean, all of them are sleeping. There's also this loose bishop on f5, alignment. I mean, there are other problems in the position.
Yeah.
That's why. So they take on e4 and then they go on e3. At least they want to gain time to develop their pieces. Logical. Bishop b3. Again? It's funny. Tal is still offering this pawn. Yeah. And black should now take. That's the best move for black. But once they refused it, they're not going to touch it again against Mikhail Tal. So Tal was quite sure that he will not take on b4 here, which they didn't. They play e6. Now Tal defends. Bishop e7, queen e2. Alekhine move, do you remember the moves like queen e2? Yes. Very typical. Knight e7. So far so good. Castle short, okay? So this game is interesting because kings have castle on the same flank this time. So if I ask you to judge this position, like what would be your evaluation here? How would you evaluate this position?
You have the bishop pair.
Uh-huh.
I like that. And I prefer white's pawn structure.
Yes. White is a central pawn. Black doesn't have a central pawn. That's important, right? In this very typical Caro-Kann formation, we have a central pawn on d4. That's a chess center, of course.
But can you do
Black
like
doesn't have a central pawn.
knight e5, and if takes, you get the pawn on e5, and then maybe you
One
can...
of those ideas. Yeah. One interesting idea is this, potentially to get a beautiful attacking pawn on e5, potentially. Yes.
And you can do queen e4. It's probably not enough.
Later on,
There's
queen e4. Yeah, once that knight moves. Yes.
But yeah, I don't know.
He goes rook e1. Very flexible move, yeah? Very typical. Alekhine move. He goes rook e1. Because in all the permutations, the rook is well placed on e1. Sometimes you can even lift it on the third rank like that, yeah? You can see it. It might happen down the line. So he plays it. That's the most flexible. They go rook e8. Sort of preparing knight f8 potentially. Believing Bent Larsen that with knight on f8, you never get mated.
But it's also depressing.
Yes, but if you win by playing depressive chess, some players want to play like that, right? Like how do you criticize them? If it wins in the end, then
could not be
that's
me.
a good dose of depression,
You
right?
want to play depressive chess.
They play depressive chess, but win in the end. He goes 95. Wow, you guessed Mikhail Tal's plan, by the way.
Yeah,
He
but
goes
we've
95.
seen it so many times now because it's but I guess yeah, and also I guess if you don't want to lose the c6 pawn, you should take it, but then
Yes,
you get the
yes,
usual thing, he chases away the f6 knight, and then you can have some pressure on h7, but
exactly.
then also I guess like you said, knight f8, but let's see.
He's stopping knight f8 for sure.
But maybe
He's
some rook
attacking here.
lifts later even.
First of all, the idea is to get a beautiful pawn on e5, right?
Yeah.
That's a game combination. So that's exactly what he's doing that, because then he will have queen e4 ideas, h7 is beaconed, bishop will move, rook will move. Looks beautiful. Unopposed bishop as well. Yeah, beautiful bishop. So that's the first point. But let's say black ignores us.
Queen
Let's say black
c7
plays
or
rook
oh
c8.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
Do you really want to take on d7, or do you have some other intentions here?
No, you don't want to do that.
Yeah.
That's
very
a really
important as
nice
well.
knight, you know, it's straight in the center.
Yes. So you always welcome this exchange, but you never take on d7. But
now you can
now I
just
want
play
you to
g4,
consider.
g5. No, I'm joking.
Sorry, what did you say?
g4, g5. Oh,
Yeah, g4, g5.
falling
I
off my
don't think
chair here.
it's logical, by the way, but the problem is sometimes, this pawn can get in the way of your
Yeah.
rook left later on,
Yeah.
Sometimes rook is better placed on the g file and so on. That's maybe not as flexible.
John, I got so
Yes.
excited when I started thinking about pushing the g pawn. I almost fell off my chair and I really hurt my arm.
No, because I can't see you in the stream, I
Yeah.
don't see your videos. So I have no idea what's going on in your chair.
Apparently,
So
I don't have any idea what's going on in my chair either.
okay, but at least we
Okay.
know that you love g4, g5 plan. That excites you.
Yes.
That's what we know right now.
Okay. But that is maybe
But
too
I will tell
ambitious.
you one more idea that might really turn you go upside down in your chair right now. And you know the idea already, by the way. You've seen this in Alekhine's session. That's a big hint for you. I want you to at least consider one more candidate move for white in this position. Okay? There's a very logical looking candidate move for white. Very tall, Alekhine-like move that I want you to seriously consider, at least.
You want to... I guess since you're saying Tal and Alekhine, I'm immediately looking at knight takes f7, but it's just...
Exactly, knight f7 sacrifice. Very typical motif. What's the point of this sacrifice?
You take on e6.
Exactly. That's why you formed Alekhine, Queen 2, and Rook E1 ideas. Can you see it? Now it makes perfect sense. You're shooting on the E6 pawn. And in combination with knight E5, this makes a perfect candidate move. Now, maybe it doesn't work for white, but you must seriously consider this move.
Yeah.
You must. Right? You see how everything is coming together?
Yes.
Like we are combining different threads. Does it work for white? Knight F7. Calculate.
Knight takes, king takes, queen takes check. after king goes back. I can't really see how we keep the attack going because we don't. I can't see an easy way for the bishops to join.
Mm-hmm.
Or the rooks for that matter.
Yes.
And yeah, I can't find anything concrete.
Yes, I agree. I don't see anything either. I would also not go for that sacrifice, but at least I would seriously consider this move, right?
Yes.
It's a real candidate because sometimes those moves are just crushing, just game-winning moves. It's all
Yeah.
about chess patterns, of course. Yeah, so you see how quickly I saw that motif because I've seen this many times before.
Yeah.
These sacrifices. So it just popped to my mind directly in this position. So also with these exercises, with some space repetitions potentially, you can also get faster at that. At least spotting those.
Yeah.
After king f8, there is nothing much. Even the machine doesn't like white so much, although only 0.5 to black, you know? That's nothing for Mikhail Tal's practice. But the problem is reinforcements. It's hard to bring reinforcements on the attack. And this is already well guarded. There's an alignment going on there. Queen h3 was given as the best. I mean, again, yeah, the game goes on. That will be a long game. The king can still go to g8 potentially to guard here. And yeah, with best play, white might have something, those ideas. But again, it's abstract. It's not so clear whether we are winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, John. Also, chat was writing that my bad chess ideas punish me physically, but I am wondering why is the g4, g5 so terrible?
After rook c8, let's say g4, g5. We can have a look at g4, g5.
Because
Maybe it's not so bad.
Yeah, okay. I will shut up.
No, we can definitely discuss this move.
Yeah.
The point is, of course, to play g5 on the next turn, I believe. Follow it up with maybe queen e4 and so on. Yeah. Again, it's your king is very safe. Like, don't worry about your king.
No,
yeah?
I'm not worried
so you
about
can
the king.
definitely push those pawns. Yeah, that's least concern.
And then I was also thinking, okay, maybe that if the g pawn gets chopped off, we can play king h1, we can play rook g1.
We will see something similar later on. This game is so beautiful, okay? But maybe they will take on e5 here, and maybe they claim that that's a better version for black. Yeah, maybe that's the only, let's say, downside, because right now g5 is no longer possible. There is no knight to attack even in this case, and it's not so clear whether this extra tempo was so useful for us to push g4. You see, because I can easily imagine some scenario that you want this g file to be open. Maybe there is some rook lift ideas, maybe rook e4 to g4 and so on. But now it's sort of getting in the way of our rook, right? That pawn on g4. It's not so clear how we're going to make use of this pawn on g4 later on. That's what I'm saying. Of course, queen e4 forces g6, maybe h4, h5, although again, even h4 is not possible because of the bishops. Yeah? You can't push these pawns right now on the king side. So since this knight on f6 can easily move, in this case, quite soon, maybe g4, g5 is not so powerful. Black needs to move that knight.
I would have played it.
Yeah, you could have played it, but maybe you could also have played maybe some other logical move in this case. Let's say here, rook c8. Yeah, you could also easily argue that maybe there are some more natural moves. Maybe even h4 is a thought, let's say, instead of g4, yeah? Maybe h4, h5 is a thought. That's also a thought. Sometimes you can push all the way to h6, alpha 0 style, yeah? Sometimes you can induce moves like h6, which was softening those light squares even more on the king side. Yeah, there are a couple of ideas, maybe even some queen f3s to attack here. White has several choices in this position, I would say.
Oh,
maybe
that's so boring, flexible. Pointing at the pawn.
Yeah, pointing at a pawn. Who cares about pawns? You're right. You're right. You're right. Totally. Tal spirited. You're Tal spirited. Of course. We don't care about marshmallow pawns.
But Tal kind of cares about pawns. He just exchanges his officers for pawns.
Yes. He's so great in sacking his officers for 2 pawns. That's his specialty, right? I'm sacking my knight for 2 pawns, but those pawns usually are pawns that are covering the opponent's king. That's the problem.
Yeah.
They're not like random pawns on the queen side, right?
Right.
They're not like pawns on a7 or something. They are quite crucially defensive units.
Yes.
Yeah. So in the extra game, he took on e5 and then knight e5. Yeah, looks logical. I mean, the knight is very strong on d5. Just if you look at this knight on d5, white cannot play c4 anyhow. So that's a very stable piece on d5. And that's basic claim for black. Yes, you have the beautiful bishop, but for the moment, there's no mating attack on the king side. Yeah, that's their basic claim. White needs some work to be able to win this position on the king side. But we are definitely playing on the king side, right? Given all of our pieces are pointing towards the king side, more space, pawn on e5, giving us extra space, limiting those moves as well. Clearly, we are playing on the king side.
Yeah, but now we play queen e4, right? We have to play that.
E4, he didn't play because after g6, maybe he didn't see like a direct follow-up. Yeah? Because black will play g6 anyhow very, very soon. So instead of queen e4, he plays queen g4. Queen g4.
Yeah,
okay?
And then you have also bishop h6 ideas, maybe
Bishop
to
h6 is
soften the
exactly.
shield.
Bishop h6 is introduced in this case. Yes. Yes. Maybe also you want to preserve this e4 square for your other pieces and not for the queen. You see? Sometimes that square can be used by the bishop, by other piece. You want to keep it flexible.
You have a question.
Yes.
If b5 was defended, would you play c5 instead of knight takes knight as black?
I don't understand the question. On which move exactly? How? Here or there?
Instead of
If
if instead of knight takes knight. If
instead of knight takes knight, yes.
if b5 was defended, would you
If
play
c6 was
c5?
defended, if c6 was defended, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. What's the question?
Would you? I'm not sure, King, what you mean, because you wrote both a5 and c5 and then you corrected yourself to b5, but I don't know which one you corrected, so maybe you could just type it again. I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries. We have time.
Yeah, I get a bit confused sometimes with communication.
Yes.
Ugh, my arm still hurts.
Really? I need to watch the stream
Yes,
again.
you
I'm
need to
really
you
curious.
need to watch the recording. You're gonna see I falling
Yeah.
off my chair.
Maybe that could be a short or something.
I
Yeah,
just like
like
g5 and then I just fell off my chair.
the move that turns over upside down on her chair. The magician or
Okay.
G4 plan that
Yeah.
pushes people off the table.
I don't really
Okay.
get what King is saying, because now he's saying it was a hypothetical scene where b5 was defended. But isn't
But
b5
B5 is already defended.
isn't
B5
b5
is guarded.
defended?
B5 is
is
already
on.
guarded here. Must be C6.
Yeah. Are
Yep.
you thinking about the c6, King? Because I can see
Then,
you
yes, then of
writing
course
it.
black would have played C5 potentially. Yes. Black
Yeah.
could have played C5 at that moment if that was the case. Yes.
Yes, if it was
Now if they
defended.
play C5, maybe that's what he means. Because now if black plays C5 here, then B5 is dropping. You see?
Right.
That's what he's saying. Then B5 is dropping. That's his point. Yes. Yes, in that case, C5 will be a good move because that will be challenging the center and try to undermine the knight on E5. Yes, I agree. And that's
Okay.
one downside of black pushing B5 earlier. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
This and this becomes more weak. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So he's right. Oh, final point of queen G4. He's stopping bishop G5 exchange operation. Can you see it?
Yes,
Black
because it
might
seems
want to
like
exchange those bishops down the line. Yes.
it
He's
seems
also
like
stopping
black
bishop G5.
it seems like black
Beautiful.
is keen to exchange.
Yes. Always exchange pieces against Mikhail Tal.
Yeah.
Because you never know whether the guy will mate you with a bishop in the end. Just chop it off. just chop it off, okay?
Yeah.
A5. A5 was chosen by black. Again, they are sort of ignoring the king side. It's also hard to suggest something for black on the king side. Yeah, you don't want to push any of these pawns on the king side unprovoked. You want white to provoke you.
Why do you not care about bishop h6?
Bishop h6, I guess, then he will play g6 or maybe bishop f8. Yeah, if he has to. Maybe bishop f8. So he sort of waits for the moment. I think one fine point of a5 is sometimes you can go a4 to have further clamp on the queen side. You know, make it more difficult for white to achieve this b3 and c4 plan to chase away that knight. I mean, that's the pride of black's position. That knight is beautiful on d5, and white is no c4 to chase away that piece. Yeah, but that knight is also quite far away to the king side. It cannot go to f8 or f6 anymore, for example. Yeah. So he goes, oh, Mikhail Tal. First of all, if he went bishop h6, then bishop f8, let's say. And there's no clear way forward for white. Yeah. Having said that, yeah, you can claim bishop g5, gain tempo on the queen. Then we can maybe consider h4, h5. Looks logical.
Or queen h5? Or
even queen h5, yeah, later on, yes. Let's say induce g6 and try to maybe then play h4, h5, potentially. Yeah. Again, white is better, by the way, in all these lines. Like the machine gives slight advantage to white in all these positions. But Tal, being Tal, he plays the move.
Bishop takes.
No, Tal plays the move. Tal plays the move h4. Double exclam. No, that's my exaggeration. It's a pawn sacrifice. Can you see it? Tal is sacking the pawn.
Why? Does he want to walk the king to the center and slide the rook to the h-file?
Exactly. Now you lay down the entire vision of the magician with this pawn sacrifice. He says, please
that
take my
is quite a
pawn,
fun idea.
then I will play g3, then I will play king g2, then my rook is shining on the h-file.
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Long-term, purely positional pawn sacrifice, h4. If
like
black
it.
doesn't take the pawn, then it's coming to h5, h6.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be like an alpha 0 pawn on the
Yes.
king side. That's helping me. He took in the actual game.
Uh-huh.
g3, bishop e7, king g2,
Yes.
exclam, g6, rook h1, exclam.
Yeah.
And suddenly white is so much better, objectively. Even the engine approves. Objectively, white is so much better. But we have to discuss why is that the case? Because we are down a pawn. So what has changed? What has changed? Well, that's what has changed, obviously. The rook is now on the semi-open file.
Open
right?
h-file, softened pawn shield.
Yes, h7 is loose right now.
Not so many defenders.
Yes. Even the bishop is doing excellent job without moving. That's very typical, by the way, also in Sicilian opening. You must have seen this. Without even moving, the bishop is an excellent influence in the game. So later on, you can move. First, he improves the rook, and then he will decide on the bishop's location. There are queen h3 ideas, for example, potentially. Yeah, we can already see, right? In terms of like compensation, white is great compensation for the pawn. And again, practically go figure this with black. Like black, for example, has to play the only move bishop f8. That's the only move that might give black some surviving chances. Because the bishop can go to g7, sometimes support h6. I mean, it's a better defender. Sometimes you open the 7th rank for defending and so on and so on. Yeah, but again, it's hard. It's already becoming hard. And this also allows bishop g5, by the way. Tal's bishop moves forward with a tempo on the queen.
Yeah.
Right? He does this move. This was, by the way, the final point of queen g4 because it also supports bishop g5. Queen c7. They're attacking the pawn on e5.
Okay.
And here comes another magic moment from Mikhail Tal.
Yeah, I've been looking at oh, this is probably stupid. I've been looking at the rook takes h7 for a while.
Now it's my turn to fall from my chair, Sulwai. Seriously. You play like Mikhail Tal. You're a great player. I could have just fallen from my chair. I mean, you told me the move. Come on. Amazing. Why rook h7? Explain.
If you take, you can just slide the other rook, and then it looks quite dangerous, I would say. You have several options, I think. You can double with the queen. You have some bishop... no, not bishop f... Yeah, maybe even bishop f6, because you can retake with the pawn, and then you have that lolly mate idea, or what is it called?
Exactly. Yeah, you know better than me, I guess, those names of the mates. Probably lolly's mate, yes. Yeah. So that's definitely a candidate move. Rook h7, very Tal-like move. Speaks directly to the heart of the position as well. Having said that, queen h4 was also okay, not as strong as rook h7. It forces h5. And even here, right, it's not so easy to find the next move. Maybe g4 again. Maybe we try to open up lines like this. That's a more slower version, because then you lose the pawn on e5 and it sort of becomes a mess. You see? It becomes a mess slightly. Yeah. You can take on h5 and black is some moves, maybe to survive. They can trade some pieces. You lost time for sure in this line. That's like a turtle way of attacking. Tal goes directly with rook h7. The only winning move. If they take, which they didn't in the actual game, you guessed it right. Rook h1 check was correct. King g8. And even you guessed both winning moves. Beautiful. Bishop f6 is winning for the same idea. That's coming on the next turn, right? That's coming. Or even queen h3 is coming and there's mate. Or you even guessed the other move, queen h4. And now like two different mate in ones, and black cannot defend them. It's as simple as that, actually. Yeah. So this is actually easy to understand. If they take, then they are toast on h7.
Yeah, but Of course, it makes sense when you went to all that trouble to open the H file and fianchetto your king and everything. You kind of need to sacrifice the rook on the H file, I feel like.
Exactly. That's the right mindset. You don't shy away from sacrifices. Yes, this was one of the main points of rook h1 move anyway. In some sense, this was already a threat in this position, yeah? I mean, maybe it's already a big threat. Of course, I first need to move the bishop to be able to prepare rook h1 check. But already here you can see the counters of the sacrifice.
Yes.
Now it's much more powerful, of course, with these two insertions. In the actual game, they took on e5. And the fireworks continue.
That's
White to play.
smart.
Definitely a smart move. The queen takes the central pawn and also centralizes.
I guess
They say they're
you
not playing
can
checkers.
rook a h1. Maybe you can do
Rook h1, bishop g7 is the main point. That's also important. Rook h1 is a like very typical move. Bishop g7, it's not so easy, you see, to make use of those rooks on the h file.
Yeah.
We lost a little bit like a momentum on the king side.
Yeah.
That's the second best move, by the way. But there's a stronger one. And this one involves some really great
F4?
tactical vision.
F4?
Not f4, because after f4, I guess they can even take the pawn on b2. And I don't see exactly what we achieved with this f4 move.
Right. I thought I had to change. I didn't see that. I thought I had to chase it the opposite direction.
This next move is so beautiful. But it's about, again, tactical vision, exploring our forcing moves. You're a believer of CCT, let's say.
Yes.
What if I ask you to follow the CCT plan and look at, let's say there are no direct checks, but let's look at some captures, let's say, yeah?
Yes. I did
Look at some captures.
I did look at bishop takes g6 to maybe soften further, but I didn't find any follow-up. So
yeah. What other capture deserves?
Rook takes f7.
Stay there for the moment. Stay with that move.
Okay.
King takes f7. What's your next move?
That's funny. Even queen f3? No.
Queen f3 drives the king to g8 anyhow. They want to escape to g8. You want to stop that.
Dear. You want to stop.
Or at least you want to consider one more move instead of queen f3. One more check should be analyzed.
Bishop takes g6.
Yes.
But
Since you already
that's a
mentioned bishop
sacrifice.
g6.
You're giving away a lot of pieces here.
Yes, but maybe we'll get back with interest. Let's not stop that line. That's very forcing. Rook f7, king f7, bishop takes g6 check.
Then you have some... do you actually win the queen? Maybe... No.
Yes.
Yes? Wait,
Why not?
I'm getting confused. Yes.
If king takes g6, what's your move?
Yes, bishop f4.
Yes, bishop f4, very important. Bishop f4, very important.
Check. King f6.
King f6, okay.
I'm getting very confused.
You're making great progress. That's great.
I'm very confused. Oh yeah, maybe now f4. What? No, I think I lost my... I need to start over. I lost...
Yes. Let's start over. Let's explore. Rook f7, king f7, bishop takes g6.
Yes,
king takes
king
g6.
takes bishop f4.
Bishop f4 check, yes. King f6.
King f6. Yeah, bishop takes queen.
Yes, but there's one more check that you should consider at least at that moment.
Queen h4.
Exactly. Queen h4 might be very smart.
Yes.
because the
Then
king
you
might
don't.
not.
Then you keep another
Exactly. Then you win the queen for nothing, right? They can't recapture with their
more
king.
economical, right?
Or economical. Exactly. You don't lose the bishop in the process,
Yeah.
right? Rook f7 is the only winning move for white, right? Look at this. First rook
Wow.
sacrifice on h7
How do you find? Well, it's a capture,
and then
but
f7.
oh my god, that's
Boom. That's the basic point. That's the basic point. And you see the king is sliced by the bishops. If the king drops back to g8, then, well, that's a better version for white because by taking the rook, you also open up the g file, right? You get the material back with interest.
yes.
That's a game continuation, actually. And if you take on g6, then bishop f4 is the only winning move.
Yeah.
King f6. Queen h4 is the only winning move. Great that you saw until this moment. Because king f5 just leads to checkmate, of course, yeah? That's just checkmate, cute. So after queen h4 check, well, if the king drops back, then I just take the queen for nothing. And if you look at the, well, material count, what's the material count? The queen versus rook and knight, yeah? Plus one more pawn for white. It's just exactly opposite of the last game, right? Now it's Tal is on the winning side. Tal is the one who's having queen versus. Yeah, that material count. But of course, their king is so weak in this case, right?
Queen
Black has more
h7 also
compensation.
is a bit dangerous, yeah?
Queen h7 is coming as well. It's a huge threat, yes. The game is over actually. Just +6.
Oh, that was hard for me to visualize that line.
This is the hardest puzzle for today, of course. I mean, even for strong players, this is not a given that they would find all this, yeah? So, of course, don't be harsh on yourself. It's even for me, it was not obvious when I first saw this game, you know? Like, you need like real effort to understand.
Because here I would probably be a little bit worried because I didn't consider queen e5 defense.
Right, of course, of course. You only expect this capture, which leads to checkmate. Yeah. But then, yeah, that's what makes a strong player, of course. They consider all these options and they still see their next move, so to speak.
So he planned, of course he did.
Yeah,
but
so before
he
we take
planned
on
rook takes
e7, he
f7.
must have seen queen e5, yes, because that's their last move. Of course, they will take on e5. And he must have also calculated.
Yeah.
Yeah, take on e5. Because here, that's the only winning move, as I said. Rook h1 doesn't really win. I mean, bishop g7 and black has enough resources to defend on the king side.
Yeah.
That's an excellent defender on g7, and not easy. But you see how he destroys, like, it's funny. Like, this bishop was shooting on the wall of pawns. It's so well guarded, the pawn on g6. He destroys two pawns that defend g6 only to make this sacrifice possible. I mean, that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
That's actually crazy. Like, he destroys the whole complex of pawns, wall of pawns, and then sacks the bishop too, to completely rip open the king. It's actually quite funny. Like, we say that, yeah, you can sometimes sacrifice pieces around the opponent's king's pawn cover, yeah? You generally sometimes sacrifice a piece for a couple of pawns, as we discussed today. Now he sacrificed a rook and bishop for 3 pawns in this process.
But very important pawns.
Very important pawns. Now the king is completely naked, right? The king is removed from its clothes. That's what he's doing.
I really love this example.
It's beautiful.
I think maybe this
and
is...
then, yeah.
Well, of course, the previous one has to be the favorite, yeah, because of the queen sacrifice and the bishop promotion. Like, it doesn't get any better than that, but I really like this one.
This is much more tactical and also calculation based. Yeah, this is also like different than the last one. This is just much more direct, pure calculation, and bam,
Yes,
bam, bam.
but it's also some... Well, I
Oh,
don't know.
this is beautiful. Yeah, no. Of course, I'm sorry. That's a long-term positional sacrifice, h4. This also has that. This move, of course, it's a combination of different things.
And also,
G3,
it's kind of a... This is kind of a theme, right? Opening up the H file, sacrificing on H7.
Very typical team. Also in some IQP positions I've seen this. Razoev, famous Razoev game, had the same idea. In an IQP, yeah, there's a D4 pawn, IQP pawn. He sacrificed the pawn on H4, just like here. He takes and then G3. So I've seen this motif before actually. Just the same idea. Especially strong with the bishop on D3.
And then also thematic, opening up the king, but a very brutal way of doing it. Also, chat is excited to see some sound Tarl sacrifices.
Some sound sacrifice, yes. It was extremely sound and correct. Both of these moves. Even H4 was correct. All these moves are completely correct. So He goes king g8, then he takes on e8. You see, he got the material back with interest. If you take the bishop, then of course, yeah, bishop f6 check, picks up the queen.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, it's raining like crazy here in Malmö, so let me close the window. What a beautiful Swedish summer this is.
Are you getting hit by the storm? Or maybe not, because it's West Norway, so it's probably not
Yeah,
bothering you.
I heard storm in Norway, yes.
Yeah.
How are things? In Oslo, you get storm?
Not very. It's just like the little rest. You know, the worst part is hitting west of Norway, but it's a little bit hitting around Oslo as well, but not much. So
Yeah. Okay. So you're just home and have a shield and protection.
yeah.
Don't go out. Yeah, no. After 5 weeks of Turkish heat and summer and dry, it's nice and humid and
And
nice
it
change.
will be some more nice days, I think, before autumn.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, as
I'm
they
sure.
say, summer was only 3 days long. Was it something? Yeah, summer was last weekend. That's what they say in Sweden. Yeah.
Do you take on
Sweden, summer
c6
last
here?
weekend. Yeah, so here he goes, takes, and then he can take on c6 too. That's a great move. But Tal
Yeah,
doesn't
of
take
course.
random pawns. He
Of
does this
course.
move because he wants to still attack the opponent's king. You see, after the storm is cleared, White ended up with an extra pawn. Isn't it funny?
Yeah,
Like
really.
after all these calculations, after all these combinations, you end up with an extra pawn. But the
Yeah.
opponent's king is still unsafe. You see, and these are weak pawns as well. Even like structure-wise, we are better. We have the bishop pair as well. So in terms of all evaluation criterion, king safety, piece activity, pawn structure, material, White is better. And that's why it's like +5 according to the engine. White is just winning.
+5,
One
really?
more pawn.
Okay, so now he takes on c6. Yeah.
Now he takes one, yeah, finally he takes one random pawn.
Yeah.
And rook d1. Of course, Tal never forgets about the final piece. The king is so safe, by the way. Look at this. There's no check on this diagonal.
Yeah.
And this pawn is loose, but black cannot attack it twice. Queen c5? Well, maybe they can, after all. But Tal has seen this, of course. Yeah? He blocks.
Could
Queen c2.
could you also do bishop e3? No,
Bishop
sorry, the
e3
bishop
drops the
is
bishop.
hanging. Sorry.
That's the problem. That drops
Bishop
the
is
bishop.
hanging.
Yeah, that was a double attack. Queen c2. Well, maybe there's this threat on b2, but Tal doesn't care about random queenside pawns. He activates the rook as well. Right? Nice. Final piece also attacks the knight on c7.
Yeah.
Puts pressure. You can't take the pawn on b2 because of this. He goes rook f7. Everything is winning, but he doesn't change the rooks. He goes bishop f6. Cute, right? He prepares
that's
bishop f6
cute.
because now just mate in one is coming if you take my rook.
Yeah.
And this rook is pinned. You can't take the bishop.
Yeah.
Very strong. Forcing queen h7 retreat. Terrible defensive piece. Bishop b4 attacks the queen. Okay, that's just torturous, yeah? The final phase.
Yeah. Oh
Queen
my
h6.
god, what is going on
It's
here?
just
It's just
terrible.
like
He's
this.
just packing pieces because like
Yeah.
he's packing the opponent's pieces for the next game.
Oh my god.
Bishop g5. Another refusal of the piece trades. He doesn't want to trade that bishop as well. Oh, the queen is running short of squares. Oh, the queen had to go to h8. Oh my god. Okay. I'm pained looking at this, yeah?
Yeah.
And then he doesn't even change the rooks. One more move that keeps the pieces on the board, and black resigned.
Because he wants to. Oh yeah, all sort of things.
They had enough, yeah? Because once knight moves, then e6 is also dropping, and then mate will follow. For example, knight e5, queen e6 check, only move, rook f7, checkmate. Lovely, right?
I love
Lovely.
it. And even I was gonna say, like, okay, he had this brutal attack, then he ended up in a position with a pawn advantage, and then I was about to say, oh, maybe we'll get an example of flexibility here. You don't, like, when the attack fizzles out, you just you're flexible, and now you focus on maybe chopping off some more pawns or whatever, but that was not right at all, because he just kept going and hammering down. But that is probably because the black king was so unsafe, right?
So true. So true. If you look at the big picture, it's not your advantage is not about the extra pawn. It's about the opponent's king still being unsafe in that position. So he actually played the position correctly. He still plays for attack. He plays for activation of the rook on the 7th rank.
But
And,
the only thing I don't understand is, why did he not just play bishop c6 at once? Did he want to move the knight for some reason, or?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question. Like, why not this? Maybe he didn't want to allow like Rook F8 activations. I'm not sure. Maybe. Maybe. I mean, even this is winning for white, of course. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe he wanted to move that knight, actually. You're right. Yeah, because that knight was clogging the d file, yeah? The rook cannot go here. So he
Oh,
wants to force knight c7 so his rook can be happy
oh.
on the d file. That's it. That's it. Yeah, that's a
But
better version for him because now that's coming.
can he not just go back?
But then I guess that's too much, yeah? Because here if he goes back, then knight bishop d c6 anyway. No, wait. Bishop e6 check
Oh,
is
yeah,
strong
of
here.
course.
Yeah, and the king is not safe at all. The king is not safe. Yeah, the rook can even get happy like this on the third rank. Disaster.
Oh, it's these small details.
Yes. You see, that's technique for you. That's like
Yeah.
how to convert, like finesse, technique. Always finding like little ways to make the opponent's good pieces to go to terrible spots. Just to
Was
defend
that a
the good
classy
one.
move?
It's a classy move, yes. In my book, this is the definition of a classy move. Yeah, a little
Yeah.
finesse,
Yeah.
little positional finesse to make your pieces happy while making them sad. Yeah, but that's why I told you, Tal, in two different occasions, he broke the record of the unbeaten consecutive games at a quite late
Yes.
age, actually, right? Only was beaten by Ding Liren and then Magnus Carlsen. Like one time he wasn't getting beaten for like 85 games, and then
That's
like it was
crazy.
95 or something.
That's
Yeah,
insane.
and like quite a huge winning record. It's not like he draws every single game. He's winning a lot of those games. So it was quite amazing. I mean, he's a great endgame player as well. He is defending amazingly. If he doesn't want to lose, he doesn't lose. You know, the guy has everything, of course.
I'm
But
wondering,
that's
I'm
yeah,
wondering, since you're a cognitive scientist and all, when you have like, let's say you have like 80 consecutive wins, that has to kind of like affect your psychology or the opponent's psychology, right? Maybe some
sure,
get
sure.
even more eager to beat you and become more reckless even because they want to beat you, or maybe some becomes over
Mhm.
respective, maybe, or
Yeah, I'm sure that has an effect. I'm sure that has an effect. People play differently against you. People get intimidated. Of course, they also get motivation to beat you and
mm-hmm.
to stop your streak, right? They might gain extra motivation against you.
So maybe they play worse actually because of both of those things.
Right. They really want to, they put pressure on themselves, maybe, yeah, to beat you finally. And maybe they take more risks in positions that doesn't
Yeah.
warrant that,
And
right? That's one
chat is
reason.
also writing that Tal is more amazing because most modern players play relatively safe chess. Ding made tons of draws for the streak, they're saying.
Exactly. Exactly. If you look at Ding's streak, it was like dominated by draws, maybe like 75% or something.
Yeah.
But Tal, the ratio was much higher. But there's a paper on this actually, like big scientific paper. They looked at Lichess database, all the games on Lichess, and they tried to find some streaks, whether streaks are real and whether they exist. You should listen to the last episode of the Perpetual Chess podcast by Professor Benjamin Ballas.
Mm-hmm.
He mentioned this study. He's also a cognitive scientist. He was also in my podcast once.
Yeah.
He sort of summarizes that study. What they find is that streaks are real. They are not, because some people claim it's not real. You know, it's only like we humans think that there are streaks. In fact, if you look at data, there are no streaks. You just make up some patterns, you know? So they try to answer that question whether streaks are real, that people tend to lose games or maybe win games in a row in their online games, let's say, yeah?
I feel like I
If I
do
remember,
that. I feel like from day to day, I
yeah,
was like I have days when I'm just like winning everything, days when I'm losing everything. I feel like it's either or very often.
it also depends on your sleep, for example, right?
Yeah.
If you're lacking sleep, then okay, you'll get affected. One loss tends to the other one easily for many people, including myself. They find that streaks are more often in beginner games, by the way. That was funny. That was
Oh,
interesting. Yeah. Like master games are not so streaky, but beginner games are much more streaky for some reason.
are we more emotional maybe?
Yeah, maybe you're more emotional. Yeah, you get affected maybe more. You lose confidence maybe more easily.
You're
Uh,
tilting more easily maybe, or
you're
yeah.
tilting more easily potentially, but also when you're winning, you tend to win more. That's also interesting. That
Yeah.
gives you some confidence that carries over, yeah, to the other
Yeah,
games.
maybe your confidence is more set in a way when you're more mature in your chess, and I have no
Right,
idea. But chat is also
right.
saying, I think streaks are real and depends on the personality. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Segu Kesh had that crazy Olympiad run in 23. And then also someone is asking, does age affect streaks?
I'm not sure whether they look at, they don't have the age data on Lichess database, yeah? They only look at online games
And
and they have
rating.
rating data. They have
Yeah.
rating data, yes. So they don't have the age data in that
Yeah.
study, potentially. Yeah. We are having 2 hour mark. How do you feel? Do you like to finish soon or do you have like one more game or
I can
what are your
do one
thoughts?
more
Maybe,
if you're up for it.
okay,
If
maybe one more. One more beautiful finish from his
okay.
side. Okay. This is actually a short game. This is a chess miniature. Only 21 moves. And you can guess, Tal is with the white pieces.
Yes. Do we get
Open
F4 in this
Sicilian.
game too?
Let's see when he's gonna play F4. Let's see. Okay, yeah, that's the challenge. Knight B3, he doesn't want to exchange knights, of course, on C6, which will only help Black's position.
So
And
why
yeah,
do you?
keeps it.
I have a question. Why do
Yep.
you? Let me just think. Because that knight is on the queen side. Why do you not go E2? Because if you're gonna play E4, I guess you can get your queen out other way, like queen E1 or something. You can get queen out.
Yeah, that's the basic thought. Yeah, you want to open this diagonal for the queen. That's the reason. That's the reason. Why not this move?
I
Knight
understand why
B2.
he doesn't go to F3 because you want to play F4,
Yeah,
but
Knight B3 also has a couple of points. I mean, it sometimes makes sense to control C5 in those
okay.
positions. Yeah, to fight against those ideas. Sorry, I'm losing my voice a little bit. But maybe even some other moves from Black is anticipated with this move.
Looks just looks a bit passive, but
It looks passive, I agree. But again, down the line, some knight c5, maybe knight d2 to c4, this knight can have some influence, yeah? You can easily imagine that maybe even e5, knight c4 later on, and d6, and so on. This knight can eye some beautiful dark squares.
okay.
Oh, wait! Tal's knight has gone backward.
Yes,
Oh
into
boy.
the corner. This is why I'm
Oh boy, into
reacting.
the corner. Okay, this is something new.
This is why
Okay.
I'm reacting.
But I mean, he really didn't want to do this exchange, right? This looks so timid. Like I go
Yeah.
forward, but what is this? I mean, and I don't want to exchange. I don't want to sacrifice my knight yet on f5. Yeah, I mean, yes, I get this d5 outpost, but it's just too much. Just too much. He
Yeah.
was not ready for a sacrifice.
Yeah.
We have to excuse him for this game.
Okay.
Knight g6. Yeah, they have to get the knight out to be able to get the bishop out. But you see already here, there's no bishop c5 because of the knight on b3.
Yeah. So
Castle short, b5.
okay.
Yeah, bishop b7, of course, that's very typical for black in those lines.
Mm-hmm.
Play sometimes b4 and so on. Bishop e3, Tal develops his pieces directly. d6. They have to play them, otherwise those dark squares are a little bit too weak. They have to get some control on those dark squares using pawns.
Mm-hmm.
And now comes Tal's
F4.
next pawn move. Can you guess his next pawn move?
F4.
Yes. Here we go again. Here we go. This
I
will
love
definitely
this.
be one main lesson from 2 sessions, right? He loves this pawn structure.
I love it too.
Yeah, you love it as well. So that's why I prepared those games for you.
I love it. It's really
Should be
exciting
7.
to watch.
Is it? Yeah, it's really exciting because of the potential in this position. Yeah, it's so flexible. Sometimes I can go e5. Sometimes I can go f5. Sometimes I can just keep my pawn here because it blunts your knights and so on. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, because I was wondering if F5 worked directly, but I guess drawback is E5 square,
Drawback is
maybe?
e5.
Yeah.
Yes, drawback is you're creating this e5 outpost in this
Yeah.
position. And this doesn't directly win for us. That's a problem, yeah?
Yeah.
So that's why it's better to be flexible in those positions.
Yeah.
He goes queen h5. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting move.
Does that
Tal's queen
support
goes
F5?
forward. Potentially f5 is supported. Potentially he's looking at this diagonal too. Yeah, once that knight moves, I think that's one of the points. He has visions of opening up the f file for the rook and to combine the queen and the rook, let's say, over here. I think this definitely supports this f5 break, to my mind.
Yeah.
He goes bishop f6. Interesting. Bishop f6. Makes sense. The bishop is getting this beautiful diagonal, and they're sort of fighting against this e5 idea as well. Now they cover e5 with so many pieces. You know what's funny? The best move for white was e5 anyway.
Really?
Yes, and this is called attacking the strong point, so to speak, or another clearance pawn sacrifice. He's clearing this e4 square. Can you see it?
Yes.
He's clearing this e4 square for his pieces with his sacrifice. D takes e5.
And now you take the knight?
You can take the knight. That's an okay move because it forces f takes g6. Sometimes you can draw back the queen to f3, gain tempo, and the game is still in white's favor. But I assume bishop e4 was even stronger.
Yeah.
Can you see it? Some rook d1 ideas and so on down the line.
Yeah.
And maybe even f5 ideas are introduced. This is much more interesting in terms of pawn play, because if you take the pawn on f5, then can you see? They are giving us this d5 outpost as well. And everything is shining with tempo in its position. That's just winning for white directly.
That's very
It's just winning
interesting.
for white. It's amazing. Yeah, it's actually beautiful pawn play. Deeper pawn play, of course. First, you sack the pawn to clear the square for the bishop. And then you sack the other pawn to clear d5 for the knight. It's actually so beautiful.
Yeah,
Two pawn sacrifices.
and your
for that.
central pawns, nonetheless. I would,
Yes, and your central pawns as well in the process.
but
And here you can go bishop b6.
but the enemy
or
king
rook
is
d1.
not castled, I guess, so that could maybe prompt you.
Yes, sort of a critical moment for us as well. They are still in the center. We can gain instant counterplay. There is some problem in the black's position. They are undeveloped. We can easily also open up lines in this position. Of course, the final point is this. He's opening up the d file for the rook. Yeah, that's the final point of the sacrifice. Just to cash in with our dynamic advantage. Because if you look at the big picture, white is well developed. Yeah, we are coordinated, we are developed, our pieces are beautiful, we are ready to fight. But black still needs some moves to consolidate.
Yeah.
And that's a signal. Indeed, Tal didn't play the move e5. He played the move rook d1. Okay?
Yeah.
He's preparing for potential e5s.
Yeah.
He's not in a hurry, because you can always play them on the next turn. Because if black stops you with e5, that's a chess crime, because they are creating this d5 outpost. You see?
Yes.
That knight is becoming a hero if they play e5. So black can never do that in this position. Oh, he took the knight on c3 because that's Tal's knight. He chops off that piece directly.
Yeah. He's worried
Having
about
said
the
that,
knight
that knight was not
sacrificing
doing
itself
much
on
yet.
d5.
What he sees that he will soon play e5 and that knight will go to e4, so he just prevents it by taking that knight when he can. But of course, that bishop was also a strong piece. Now dark squares are in white's hands, and that pawn is also limiting that knight. But again, black's point might be that if you keep playing slow moves, maybe they will consolidate, and this pawn structure is terrible, and so on and so on. But Tal plays, well, f5 was also quite strong here, but Tal plays a normal move, rook d2, flexible. Sometimes you can play rook d1 to attack d6. You see? Actually, simple chess. He just wants to put pressure on the pawn on d6. That's a weakness. Sometimes the rook can do this after f5 break, can join the attack on the f file, so it's very flexible. Rook d2, knight e7.
Yeah.
Okay, now that knight no longer controls d4, he improves the bad knight. Finally,
Yeah.
the bad knight improves, goes to the center, supporting f5 push as well in this position.
Yeah.
Bishop e7, and of course comes your move. Now finally time is right for f5, because we did everything right. We are ready for fight, and their king is still in the center, so it's now the right time to open up the game with the move f5. You see, also disturbing that knight. He took on f5 because if you get the outpost on e5, I guess that's already too late. You see? That's why he moved his queen to h5, by the way. You cannot take back the f-pawn. So that's it. That's why you see we say f5 is supported by the queen's presence on h5 in this position, because you really want to stop f e6 on the next turn. So now all of his previous moves also start to make sense. He took on f5, but that's already quite a big concession. He's opening up some squares. He's opening up the e-file. His king is still there.
Yeah.
95. And here comes a Tal sacrifice again.
You push the pawn here, right?
Pushing the pawn is not bad, f6. Because if you take on f6, you can sometimes take back. The problem is the king can flee to the queen's side in this position. Looks surprising, I know, but they can flee to the queen's side. And Tal doesn't want to allow this. The king fleeing on the queen's side. You see, it's not easy at all to attack the king on c8 in this position. That knight holds the entire position together on the outpost on e5.
Yeah, it's too soon because it's not castled, I understand.
Yes, exactly. If they already committed on the king's side, f6 will be a good move potentially. But not here.
What about knight e6? Does that work?
Yes, the prompt was a Tal sacrifice and you found it, so why? Beautiful. We've seen this motif before. Do you remember the last session?
Yes.
He just put his knight on e6. And you were so shocked. Why did he play the knight to b3? Well, here comes, right?
Now,
here comes.
Okay, I take it all back. I'm sorry.
Yes, please take your word back. Only for a single move, the knight retreated, only to appear on e6 later on. Beautiful. You see, prophylaxis. He stopped being castling long because that would be an illegal move. That's the
Yes.
basic function of knight e6. He stopped being castling long. Also eating the queen, by the way. The pawn is pinned.
Yes.
Bishop e6 is forced. Otherwise, I take on g7 with check, and your king is in the center. Takes. Huge pressure on the f7 pawn. Lines are also cleared for the bishop pair. g6 more or less the only move, yeah? Because how else are you going to defend this threat?
Yeah.
You can castle long, but this is already too much. That's a huge pawn on f7, right? Just game over. He plays g6. And here comes a little tall move again. Magician. Magician showing his trick. This move nicely connects to our last two sessions, by the way. Like knight e6 was a great consolidation. Even this move consolidates.
Oh, there's so many things to look at.
Yes, I know. That's why it's a hard calculation exercise, because you have so many choices.
Because well, first you have to look at the queen sacrifice, right? If it works, especially with the diagonal opening and everything.
Exactly.
I'm not
Queen move.
not sure it's enough. Is it enough?
You tell me.
Queen take, pawn take, check. King cannot
Yes.
go to f8. I think that is mate, right? After bishop h6.
It's beautiful. Beautiful calculation of this key line. That doesn't work for black.
So it needs to go the other way.
Yes.
And I was just wondering if you should promote. You get 2 rooks. Is that enough?
Okay.
Or do you
But
have
first of all,
something?
you're missing one important alignment at that moment. When the king moves to the d file, there's a very deadly looking alignment that's created.
Oh, right. You have a discovered check with the rook.
Yes.
Oh, I need to start over. I'm sorry. I'm getting
Yes, please, you can do it. You already made big progress.
Okay, let's see. Queen takes, pawn takes, king d8. And then you wanna do bishop f5? No, the knight is still there.
Yes.
But you can you do it?
Maybe you can still do it. Just to stop king c8, right?
Wait, what did you say?
Just to be able to stop king c8. You want to play
that
bishop
is
f5.
that
Yes.
is why I want to do
Yes.
it.
Yes. Can you please visualize that moment? I know it will take effort, but try to be as crystal clear as possible at that moment.
Yes, you have to block with the queen, I think.
But
right?
that's already demo, right? If they have to.
You
If
have
they have
no
to,
other. You have no
demo.
other squares, do you? Or
Uh-huh.
yeah, that only move.
But that costs a full queen, right? Because
Yes.
how are they gonna cover it?
Yes. Well,
We win a full queen with check.
Well, yeah. You just get the queen for free, right? Or not for free, I guess, but you get you get it for free, I think, yeah.
Yes. Because
And
queen d7, rook takes is then anyway, because the bishop is here.
Yes.
Right?
And the king can survive, I think, by going to c7, but we can stop calculation there, I think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you have this extra material back, you have the amazing pawn at f7, game over. So that was king d8 line, right? That was king d8 line. How about king d7 line? If the king escapes to d7.
Oh, right. Okay. Takes. Yeah, but then you can also do some rook things, I think. Takes. Just maybe you want to do the double check. Maybe you want to do the double check. You want to go the other way.
Okay, so bishop takes b5 you're looking at.
But then you go back to
You allow king c8, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So maybe even bishop f5 here.
Yes, bishop f5 should be investigated. What's the only move against bishop f5 double check?
Yeah, that was also the problem. c6, I guess.
Yes, that's the only move. Please be like, that's the only move at that moment. Only legal move. King c6. Tell me a deadly move at that moment for white.
A deadly move.
Yes.
Um,
The king is on c6.
yeah, I was first, okay, of course, bishop e4 check, but then you can just go back
Yes.
again, can you not?
Is it legal to go back?
No, of course, the pawn is gone. Of
The pawn is
course.
gone, but also you clear the d file. There's a rook standing on the d
Yes,
file.
and then
Mhm.
I it's not mate, I think, yet, because you can block with the knight, but then you can
Yes,
take the knight, right? Drop the knight.
exactly. Exactly.
And then I think also we
Take
can,
the knight,
then you have to go
check.
back, I think, to the d file.
Yes, but then you take the whole house with checks.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
with double
I
check
think we
again, and the
also
game
can
is already
stop
finished.
calculation there,
Yes,
yeah?
yes. Isn't it beautiful? You just engage in a beautiful calculation exercise here. And you calculated 3 key lines after the
Yeah.
queen sacrifice properly.
But
So that's
I
what
didn't
Mikhail tells us.
calculate if he doesn't take, but I guess he has to, even.
Oh, come on, come on. Needless calculation. Like, okay, well, what if he doesn't take? Then you just you play chess with an extra piece. You say thank you, play
Yeah.
chess. What if they castle long here? Oh, I have an extra piece. What should I do here?
Yeah.
Yeah. So isn't it beautiful? Like we saw everything. We saw knight e6 sacrifice once again, and we saw the queen sacrifice once again. And in this case, also creation of a pass pawn. This line was easy to calculate. Bishop a6 checkmate. This line also you quickly saw this. King d8. Also, of course, we can promote to a queen. But I think I like your solution. Bishop f5. This you saw. Right? This you saw, and then knight d5 is the only move. You can check. You can even do this check just to be able to stop the king from escaping to e7, and then you take on d5. Yeah, there are different ways for us to win. This is the most human to my mind. Just take. And against king d7, very important. That's the only branch that wins actually. Very important, crucial. Bishop f5 double check, so the king cannot go to c8. And here, again, crucially, bishop e4 check. Right? This was the most trickiest from the initial
Yeah,
position.
that was a hard one, because for some reason I forgot the pawn was gone. That's happened
Exactly.
sometimes with
Exactly.
me.
And that's so typical. It's called retained image calculation mistake. So there are some pawns disappearing, but that image is retained in your visualization. You think that the pawn is still there. In fact, that's gone.
Why does that happen? I know I can ask you, because you're a cognitive scientist.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, I think
Weak calculation
it's
skills, basically. That is why it happens.
yes. Yes. I even made a video about it. I can send you a link. I discussed that. That I even have some advice to tackle that.
Yeah.
It's called retained image problem or something. There's like 15-minute long video. But I mean, pawns are everywhere, right? Also, pawn structure tends to be stable. Pawns don't really usually move a lot. Maybe that's also one bias for us.
Yeah, but still, I feel
And
like I should have been able to not do that, because the point was to
yeah,
open the d file. But also, I'm gonna
right.
pin it on the time because
Yeah,
it's late. That is my excuse today.
that's it. I mean, we've been doing some very hard work, almost 2.5 hours. And only
Yeah.
now, yeah, when you're so tired, I ask you this. I mean, this was very difficult in some sense. And you did excellently well. I mean, you were even like looking at the queen sacrifice here as a candidate move. This was great. This was a great start. And then some magic took place here. But
Yeah,
you
that
see, like
was.
how directly played. Like even we can take some lessons, maybe like overall lessons also.
I also
We can
think it's
connect
fun
to.
with this b3 knight, that I was just like
You were
absolutely.
condemning Tal. You were
Yeah.
saying bad things about this passive knight, and then look what happened.
Yeah,
Look what happened.
I'm eating my words.
You eat your words. That's exactly what he did right now. Look at
And
this.
also, the only thing I'm thinking about now, John, because I remember one of my very first classical tournament games. I ended up playing the knight back to b3, and then I remember the coach I had at that time was like, "Oh, you don't have to play that. That's very passive." But now all I can think about is I want to send her this game. Look at the knight on
We said in
b3.
this game, look at Mikhail. Even he, for the moment, for a single move, he
Yeah.
retreated. You didn't see my potential of that piece, my dreams and aspirations of that knight. Yeah. You see, he didn't move to e2 as you mentioned because he wanted to play queen h5.
Yeah.
Such a visionary man, you know. In the first opportunity, he played queen h5.
I
This was
know
the
the
point.
knight blocks, but I'm
Yeah,
remembering my Grand Prix patterns. I was thinking, oh, maybe you can get it
that's
out
right.
via e1, and then your knight can go
Of
to
course, because in your Grand Prix, the queen usually comes from
yeah,
e1. Of
and then
course,
you
of
can
course.
go with the knight to f3. The knight will be stronger on f3. That was what I was
That's right.
thinking, but that's my patterns, So it
That's your patterns. That's your
was nice to
patterns,
see
yeah?
some other ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you open up your mind for other possibilities. So that's what we learned from this game, this motif of f5 and knight e6 sacrifice. This was the basic lesson. Just as a recap, maybe very quick recap of what we learned today as well. We learned a couple of things in this pattern. Knight f7 sacrifice, also for you. This was important to at least give yourself a choice in those moments. And this pawn motif plus h4 sacrifice, and then g3 and king g2 motif.
Yeah, I love this one.
To
This
open
was
up your
very fun.
file. Yeah, this was very instructive game as well. I know many coaches teach this game when it comes to Tal for a good reason. Yeah, so it really shows his style as well, calculation abilities as well. So this was the basic lesson from this game to my mind. And also from this game, right? This queen sacrifice, positional queen sacrifice.
Oh, right. Yeah, this one.
Very beautiful one, this one as well. Like see how much he saw. He trusted his dynamics. He trusted his bishop as well to give him long-term compensation. B file was opened and comes this clearance pawn sacrifice very soon with this c3 move. Yeah, it's such a classy move, this one. This one is cool.
Yes, I love it.
And then how he organizes pieces later on, yeah, with the umbrella. And how he could have won by promoting to a bishop if the opponent didn't resign in this position. That could be cool.
I think
And
you,
yeah,
because we discussed last time, should you resign or let your opponent mate? But I think in such rare cases you can allow, right?
of course, right? Like just give him that at least. Just give him this that he can tell to his grandchildren, like show this position.
Yeah.
Right?
Would you allow your opponent to do this?
Yeah, I would. I think I
Yeah.
would. Especially if there's a queen sacrifice. Come on, like a long-term
Yeah.
queen sacrifice is done on you. Like you know that you end up in a history book anyway, right? Like
Yeah.
you know that you will end up in books in the future, like 50 years from now. This was played in 1958. It's like almost 70 years, and we still talk about this game. So why don't you allow one more beauty to the
Yeah.
opponent?
I think
Sorry, not the
I
rook.
think in this
This
case you
one.
should allow.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, it was only like one move as well, just be gentleman, just allow it.
Yeah.
I know Peter Svidler, for example, also allows it. If the opponent plays really well, he allows him to execute the checkmate until
Yeah.
the end. That's yeah. What did we learn from this game? Remember the first game we looked today? Open Sicilian. This sacrifice is coming now. Do you recall which sacrifice? Boom, 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 boom. Where should this knight move?
Right. To d5 to cut the board in
Exactly.
half.
Exactly. To cut the board in half, to open up our bishop, to open up the e-file for our rook.
E-file.
Right? Multi-purpose knight sacrifice.
Yes.
So nice. And again, like you can play this position against your training partners. I'm sure black will suffer in a practical game. White is easier play, right?
Yeah. You don't have any
Engine
moves with your
disagrees.
officers.
Yeah, like look at the officers. Look at those officers.
No
They are
moves.
miserable.
No moves.
Yeah. No moves. Also, like these officers are quite terrible. That's what we call dynamics, by the way. Yeah, potential of the pieces and so on. Like, of course, white has great potential in this position. Yeah. And how he couldn't find the best defense is in a human way he failed because he was seeing all the natural moves for the opponent. And how Tal got the piece back and he played quietly in his position with 2 extra pawns. He consolidated, right? Consolidation. Sometimes you can just use these attacks to gain material, to consolidate. But we have not seen like an end game, yeah? All the games I have finished in the middle game today as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Like brutal tactics, like concrete calculations, but definitely finishes in middle game directly.
Can you argue this is an endgame?
No, I mean, I still think that this is a middle game because king safety is very important still,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
Usually in the end game, king safety is not a big factor. The kings can be centralized, for example, right?
Of
That's one
course.
definition of an end game.
Of course.
And these were the 4 games from today. If you recall, like very briefly recall, I will actually ask you a question from last week. Tal Najdorf. Najdorf says, I will accept all your sacrifices. Do you remember that game?
Yes.
And then we reach this position.
Yes. And
Already
then
from here, I can ask you, what's the best move for white? Improve the worst place piece. This is a positional one. Improve your worst place piece, please. And place it on a good square that could have an influence in the game.
oh no, I don't remember if it's I want to say the bishop.
Yes, you're on the right track. The bishop does nothing over here. So where do you place the bishop? To disturb black's king side.
I should remember this one. But maybe only h4.
Yes, bishop h4. Simple chess. That's
yes.
it.
And then
The bishop is excellent.
And then we got knight e4, exchange
Yes.
sacrifice, and
Exchange
then
sacrifice, big
right,
cross,
and then
the
we
next move.
play bishop f6, right?
Boom! Double exclam. I should give it double exclam because it's so beautiful. The move does everything, yeah? The move is so multifunctional.
Of course.
Attacks here, stops f6. Crucially, it stops f6. If you play queen g4, f6, and black is winning because they cover g7 like this, and the bishop is blunted in the process.
Yes.
Black is an extra exchange after all. It also stops f6. Physically, it stops f6. It defends the d4 as well. It also attacks the pawn on g7.
Yes, multi-purpose.
It does everything. Multi-purpose. And you see, you paid way for it by simply improving your worst place piece. Right? That's why we say, look at your bad piece, improve it, and then at some point tactics will start working for you.
Yes.
Right? Here you find a tactic because of your earlier improvement of the bishop. Queen b6 was played. Oh, Najdorf. You said you accept all sacrifices. You didn't take the bishop. Because if you took, then mate in 2, of course.
Yeah.
And then he took the pawn on g7, and then he won. The bishop retreat. Again, one more pawn, by the way, what was gobbled around the opponent's king. That was an important pawn covering the king, by the way. And now all these things are coming, and there's no defense. Also, we have so much extra material, and Najdorf resigned after f5 because that's already guarded. The queen is running short of squares. Queen h5s are coming if the queen moves to c6, let's say. Yeah, it's just so bad to play for black.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was that from that last week. Also, we saw this knight e6 sacrifice very quickly. Yeah, again, open Sicilian by white. Very typical, Najdorf. Bishop g5, Najdorf. Remember, Tal didn't mind exchanging his dark square bishop.
Yes.
That's what he does.
Yes,
That's what he does. This was what discussed last time as well.
Yep.
Today, he didn't really change that bishop so much. Today, that bishop was useful for Tal, remember?
Yeah.
It was a good piece.
And even... No.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Yeah, but you see, he does it because he doesn't want to lose time. He just doesn't want to lose time directly. Bam, bam, bam. Like long castling and just take it from there. Oh, f4 again.
Yes.
He makes his favorite move. Introducing e5 and f5 ideas. And then your pawn collapses, which is very typical because when you feel the pressure, he can do all these moves to you. Then you sort of commit to moves like this, which leaves outposts like that. He goes knight e5 to exchange the defender of the opponent's king. That's what he does that, by the way. Also to open up the e-file, to pin the pawn and so on. And then comes this little sacrifice. Do you recall? The knight is hanging. Please choose a square for the knight, Solvay.
Oh, right. This was...
Great consolation
knight
today.
e6, right?
Yes, knight e6 again. Can you see? It attacks the queen. It stops castling short as well, just like in the last example today, for the same function. And if you ever take that knight, then lines will be opened up. Can you see?
Yes.
Files and diagonals are cleared if you ever take that knight. That's the problem. Having said that, black should have taken that knight. They should have played like an engine. They should have played the move king d7, and then they should have played the move king c6 exclam, and black is winning in this position. Go figure, because the black king is escaping via a7. That's the reason. Right? That's why Tal says there are correct sacrifices, and there are mine. That's kind of a Tal kind of a sacrifice. Like, go figure this. In the actual game, he couldn't figure it. Comes a check. The king is forever stuck in the center. The knight find a good home on e6 again. If you ever take my knight, then look at this carnage going on here. F file, D file, and just disaster. So then that's how he won the game. Just won a pawn and then just activate all of his pieces. Won slowly. Okay, for the only single move, the bishop retreated. Oh, again, the knight moved forward, by the way, just to pay way for the pawn, also for the bishop. And then they lost because he removed the defender of the bishop. Can you see it? Queen e5 is the main point, so he just sacked the exchange.
Yes.
With this point, and they resigned. So this was that example again. Lots of typical motifs. This f4 and e4 pawns. Always ideas like this. At some point, knight e6 ideas are allowed in those positions, especially if the king is still in center. Yeah, because then these are devastating ideas.
Yes.
So that's sort of a common theme from that one and this one. And then remember his most famous game from World Championship match against Botvinnik. Sorry, not this one. Okay, this is probably this one. Yeah, this King's Indian. No, that's also not King's Indian. I don't have that one. Do you remember he played knight f4, this long-term knight sacrifice? Maybe you have some vague memories of that game that we discussed as well last time. Again, he sacrificed the knight for a single pawn, but just to put some pressure on Botvinnik, he had to find 3 only moves to claim some advantage, and he couldn't. And then he just won the endgame, basically. That was the only endgame stage that was won by Mikhail. That was also this, but also this King's Indian against Jan Timan we looked at last week. Sort of a Benoni / King's Indian hybrid, let's say. And you see he kept the tension for a long time. He's a Soviet schoolboy, he take back with the pawn. And then he plays e4. And then he made a very strange looking move in this position. Do you recall? He took that knight on c3.
Yes,
You
because
were
he
a little
hates
bit shocked.
his
Yeah.
dark squared bishops.
Because he hates the dark square bishops. So this was your conclusion. And then we were having some fun.
Yes.
Then we also understood that this bishop is forever shut down from the game. That's a Nimzo-Indian pattern, because that double pawn is usually a Nimzo-Indian structure. And you see, the bishop has 0 potential in this pawn structure. Nothing.
Yes.
So his claim is that, yes, my dark squares are weakened, but you can't exploit that. Meanwhile, he also opened up the G file for the rook.
For the rook, yeah.
To attack. That's it. Then the pieces flow to the king side step by step. And then came a sacrifice at some point. This was nice. Like, he organizes pieces like that. He has all the time in the world to move the pieces from A to B. That bishop is the only defensive piece. The rest is attacking.
Yes.
Right?
Is
Even
it
this
now
look, final piece.
Yes, and now we get the sacrifice on f4, right?
Exactly. Good space repetition we are doing here. Knight takes f4. Another piece sacrifice for 2 pawns around the opponent's king.
Yes.
We saw that many times. That's one underlying theme for 2 lessons, yeah? How he was daring to sacrifice a piece for 2 pawns just to make the opponent's king naked. And then he found queen f3.
Yes.
Also, of course, yeah? Very simple chess. I mean, the pawns are running, all these pawns are hanging. It's collapsing. Also, look at the rook on a1, just sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how this game went. Timon resigned.
And by the way, chat is saying that they've seen Magnus play bishop takes c3 too.
Yes, Carona also played in a much more unconventional context. This was really shocking because here you can understand the point of it. But the way Carona played that move some years ago, I mean, many people made videos about this because people were shocked. Even like the chess world, strong players were shocked. But even, in that context, you can see similar ideas if you play it correctly. It's one of those exchanges that you shouldn't try at home as a beginner, right? As we say. As a beginner, don't try this at home because it also depends on, deeper understanding of the structure and deeper understanding of the patterns and seeing that this bishop is harmless and so on and so on. Otherwise, we really love our King's Indian bishops as well, yeah? As you know, I mean, that's an excellent piece. Pride. Also, that knight doesn't do much on c3, yeah? It's not that the knight is strong. It's actually about the structural transformation favoring black so much. That's why he does that.
Yeah, I think I definitely would have needed to see this to consider giving away the dark sword bishop,
That's an invisible move for many. Yeah, if you've never seen this pattern before, this just looks ridiculous. I mean, it looks like a chess crime. Yeah. So that's why also we need to work on these chess classics to know more patterns to consider.
Yes.
Yes. So this was that. Let me see. Maybe we covered everything. I mean, we covered everything, yeah? Is there anything that I left out? Even some Tal quotes I'm looking at again.
I can't remember we looked at e4, e5 game.
Were there any e4, e5 games last time or even today? Let's see.
Not today.
Was there an e4, e5 game last week? Maybe this one. Oh, this is against a not known person, amateur. This is how we started last time. Do you recall? He gets these pawns, he gets this knight, he gets the queen, and then goes e5. This is very typical. And then some Greek gift motifs were working, but before the Greek gift, he goes bishop g5, exchanges off the defender for the knight to strengthen the Greek gift. And then comes this calculation moment. Yeah. Here he goes Greek gift. I will ask you a crucial question. Check king g8 here. If you go queen h5, does it work for white?
No, because of you can move the f pawn, so that's why you go knight f5 first.
Exactly. First he goes knight f5. Very important. Brings the final attacker. Knight cannot be captured.
And now you sacrifice the queen directly by playing queen h5.
Beautiful. Space repetition here. Nice. Takes. What's your move?
Take. No, knight f7 check. Sorry, knight f7 check.
Knight e7. Zwischenschach. Very important. And then, what is this mating pattern?
Anastasia?
Yes, Anastasia's mate is on the board. Queen h5 was the only winning move for white in this position. Really like because it's so forcing, you see? It forces, literally, queen takes.
So nice.
I mean, if you take my knight, then just checkmate. And this just literally forces the next move.
So very nice.
Yeah, that's how we started last week. But yeah, there's no e4, e5 game. That's crazy. Almost everybody played Sicilian against Mikhail Tal, which is not a good policy. Given his score, given his excellent score against Sicilian. We saw one Caro-Kann today.
Yeah, and I have to say, John, I am really sorry about this, but because now we've been like seeing queen sacrifice games, and my favorite is the b3 knight hero.
Oh, really? After all these discussions we had all this time, your favorite one is the knight b3 hero.
Yeah.
This one. We discussed 5 hours of Mikhail Tal's beautiful forward moves and sacrifices and motifs, and this becomes your favorite move after 5 hours.
That is a chess crime.
Yeah. Because of his novelty, right? Because of his novelty aspect. I see. Okay. I accept it. I see some beauty behind this as well. Deeper knowledge.
Yes, and also just to remind myself to not be so judgmental of that poor b3 knight, because I was just like, oh, that's so passive, that's so bad. And then I default into my default patterns, which is knight back, knight f3, queen e1, because I want to do all of this standard mindless, brainless things. So it was a good reminder to not be so rigid, you know?
This is totally about flexibility, you see? He kept this standoff between these two knights because that knight was always necessary to stop knight e4 again.
And also question, the c3 pawn is Karpov distance, right? From the c6
Exactly. It's Karpov distance. Beautiful. You remember it nicely.
Yes, and I've gotten so much use of that in my games lately. I use it with my bishops and my pawns, and it's just so nice, especially in the endgame. Like I've gotten a good use of it.
Cool. That's a beautiful pattern to know. That's domination distance. That pawn dominates that knight, as we say. Yeah. Karpov. Okay. So any other questions from the chat? Any other comments, remarks? We can make many more lessons about Tal.
Do you have any questions or remarks? Because I think both me and John are getting
tired.
Yes, ready to go to bed. I can see you're just like
I'm sleeping,
scratching your eye. I need to go tend to my injury after falling off my chair. No, I'm joking.
I have to watch that scene again. I'm so sorry about that.
No, it was my own fault. Idea. I got so excited about G4, I fell off the chair.
G4, call the ambulance. Okay, then that's what we call now. G4, call the ambulance. That should be the name.
Yeah.
Okay. I hope you do well. I hope you recover.
Maybe I will tomorrow. Get blåmerke, like a blue
Yeah,
mark.
get some blåmärke potentially.
Yeah.
Your tall blåmärke.
Yes. So nobody can say it was not exciting, even though we both were tired today.
Oh my God,
We even
that's
had
such a
an
nice
injury.
blåmärke to have, right? You can even make a meme out of it, like on Instagram. Yeah, we had
Yeah.
2 exciting tall sessions. Fireworks.
Even got an injury.
Getting an injury. Brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I
but
know it was lovely.
I think we're
It was
ready
lovely.
to. Okay, I have to say this one is my favorite. This is the
Let
official
us
favorite.
finish with this final position. Yes. This should be the final position as we go. Yes. For Tal's honor. This was the
Yes,
most aesthetically pleasing for sure.
I love it. I want to just
Yes.
say thank you for chat, for visiting today and being active. It's so nice streaming when you're active in chat. And thank you so much, Olan, for the subs. I really appreciate that so much. And thank you, John, for the lessons on Tal.
My pleasure.
I want to stream more with you. Maybe we'll figure something out. But I really
Hook you
enjoyed
up.
this. I really enjoyed these lessons on Tal.
Same. Same. You're a great student. Again, I mean, objectively, I can judge people across the years. Your feedback was so nice. You understood so many concepts. You remember from last week as well. You actively engaged, and these are always the best students. And we brought value to your community as well. And I can even make some YouTube videos from this content. So it's kind of a win-win for both sides.
Yeah.
It's always fun to look at all. So you can let me know whichever master or concept you want to touch as we move forward.
Yeah, I
Then I
will
will make more of it.
think about it. We should definitely do another
Yeah.
master. I'm even like curious about Judith Polgar, for example. I'm curious
Oh,
about her.
Polgar, of course. You can make a Polgar session for sure.
I'm really
Yeah.
curious.
Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
I will
Okay.
think about it.
Yes.
But thank you
Yes.
so much, and thank you, chat, and yeah.
Vi
See
ses
you.
snart.
Yeah,